noisy clicks.
18,
So
19.
all right. Anyway, we're already rolling.
Oh,
So
okay.
all right. Random intro aside. Welcome to the Nothing of Value podcast.
It really
I'm
is
Jeff,
today.
joined by,
I'm Greg.
Yeah, and I'm Doug.
and we're coming at you with all the latest geek-related news.
I don't know if it's all the latest anymore.
Well,
but you
not
know.
all the latest, but all the fucking shit we care about.
Yeah, you go.
Yeah, so let's jump right into it. So it's been a while since we've been around, but
It's been like a month.
yeah.
We've had like rolling sicknesses.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
got sick, then
I
Greg
got
got sick.
And
You're still like a fucking paragon of health.
I am actually, like, I've dodged everybody's illness.
Oh, no,
Vivian, Andrew,
And I'm
all-
bringing it in.
we have
You're
a
gonna
bunch
be
of friends
sick.
who've been sick, and like they've got their fucking kid around, like touching everything
Oh,
with.
kids are the worst when
Yeah.
it comes
Yep.
to sicknesses.
And I just haven't gotten sick yet. It's been really good. But that
Now
aside,
that he said that, he is going to be super sick for the next podcast.
Yeah, for sure. I'm gonna randomly like cough throughout this podcast, like Doug
Like
just
that.
did.
yeah, Doug
Yeah,
is still a little
we're
sick.
gonna start off the program with the Spider-Man Far From Home trailer.
Yeah, we're gonna tie this into everything really, because it's all just becoming one big fucking MCU mush
Marvel,
this time of year.
Marvel-gasm.
Yeah, like we're getting close.
Margasm.
We're like 6 weeks from Captain Marvel,
Is it that close already?
March 9th.
Holy
right
What
around
is
the
it?
corner.
Yeah, like early February. So like in a couple, I think next week or the week after, the second Lego movie comes out,
Yeah.
and then like 1 month later, exactly from that point, is Captain Marvel.
Yep, we're getting there.
Yeah. And you know what? I didn't think it would come fast enough.
Actually,
Yeah.
I'm kind of excited for the Lego 2 movie.
Yeah.
Just because, like, the Lego 1 movie, I thought was a sleeper hit.
Yeah.
I went in with, like, the lowest expectations ever, and it was effing amazing.
It was.
Yeah.
It was very good. But back on to the first topic, Spider-Man Far From Home trailer. For those of you who have not seen it and do not want to be spoiled, why are you listening to us? Because we are spoiler laden. So
Yeah.
just for the record, spoiler. But in the trailer, we get glimpses of Mysterio for the first time. We get confirmation, of course, that Nick Fury is the supporting actor in the movie. We get confirmation that Spider-Man is indeed alive, which kind of spoils Endgame. More on that later.
Yeah.
We get look at 3 of the elementals. It looks like Hydro Man, Sandman, and
The Rockman.
and Rockman. We didn't explicitly see what is it, Inferno? What's his name?
Probably.
The fire guy.
There's, like, 5 of them. But,
Yeah.
like, there was a thing I saw where it, like, broke down the Spider-Man trailer and tried to pull out all the Easter eggs
Yeah.
possible.
All the comic dates that are on the boat and all the
Yeah. So you saw that, too. Okay.
Yeah, I did. So lots of Easter eggs in it. Lots of cool shit.
Yep.
Most interestingly for me, I have to say, open up to the first question, first discussion point. I actually think the whole Mysterio mystery, of whether or not he's a friend or a foe, is actually kind of shit. And the worst part of that trailer, and I sincerely hope they do something that I don't expect with it, because I fully expect that it's going to look like he's a hero, but in traditional Mysterio fashion, last minute, oh, switcheroo, I'm actually a bad guy, and this was all just a fucking illusion.
Yeah, every time.
Yeah.
I 100% agree with you. That's probably what's going to happen. Here are the possible things that open up for a change to that.
Yeah.
One of them being it's Jake Gyllenhaal playing Mysterio.
Yeah.
He's been resisting doing superhero movies for a very, very long time, and I think he's finally gotten to the point where he needs a paycheck.
That does make sense.
That being said, I don't think he would sell out for just a movie,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
He would then play Mysterio, and they've been trying to get Jake Gyllenhaal for a while to play something, and so they'd have to kind of, entice him with something more than just a movie. That said, Mysterio in the Marvel Universe has done some really cool things, like in the past, during Old Man Logan. Do you guys remember that story arc?
Yep.
Logan killed all the X-Men because Mysterio made him see an illusion, like in front of his eyes, that all of the X-Men were villains, and he went into a blood rage and killed all of them. And then Mysterio just dropped the illusion, went ha ha ha, and disappeared. That said, another point I want to make about that movie is you see Mysterio doing all kinds of like Doctor Strange-esque little circle magic.
Yeah, like it doesn't look
things.
like he's an illusionist at all. It looks like he's an actual flying fucking
Wizard.
Like
a motherfucking wizard.
Yeah.
That said, this finally adds to the point that we finally have a counterpoint to Doctor Strange.
Another
he could
magician.
be the rival wizard to Doctor Strange, which is
Would be
he
changing his
sorely
character
needs.
though entirely.
Would it? Well,
Right? Because well, actually no. Let's
Not
be
really.
clear. There were multiple Mysterios.
no.
The original one was a special effects guy
Yeah.
who was literally just smoke and mirrors. He was an illusionist in the traditional sense. But I do believe there was one incarnation of Mysterio that did gain magical ability. You would know better than I would, but I remember reading that somewhere.
That said, even Doctor Doom gained magical ability.
He did. Yeah.
So yeah, it's not outside the scope, and it's not like the Marvel Cinematic Universe hasn't diverged.
No, it's true that happened.
From
Yeah, like
comic.
Peter Parker is a student in this case and not a fucking reporter.
Well,
Or,
right
photographer.
now they're pulling from Ultimate Spider-Man, which was like a little separate universe that they made
Right.
from,
Right.
which tended to be more successful because Spider-Man continuity from the 60s is just
Kind of
Well,
shit.
nothing changed. I mean, it was the same Peter Parker in the 60s as we had in 2000.
right, but it's like he's 25 versus
Yeah.
the student.
Yeah.
Exactly.
But so yeah, Mysterio. I don't know. My first impressions of just him are not good. Like, first of all, you don't want any part of this is probably the poorest line I've ever seen Jake Gyllenhaal deliver, and he's done a lot of good movies.
Yes.
It came out of his mouth, and I was just like, on multiple levels, I thought this is bullshit. It was bullshit in that, first of all, Mysterio is putting on a show, obviously, but it's bullshit in that. Come on, Gyllenhaal, sell it. Like, deliver a line. I know you can. By the way, coincidentally, do you know that Jake Gyllenhaal did star in a movie called Nightcrawler?
Which is not about the superhero.
It is not, but it is a very good movie.
Yes.
Yeah.
It is about him being like a photographer, and he's like also a killer or something.
Well, no,
He sets up the crime scene so that he could take pictures of it.
sort of. So what happens is he's a psychopath,
Yeah.
but not a murdering psychopath. So sociopath is the better word. He has a certain detachment, and he's just like stealing fence and selling it to construction workers and things like that at first. But then, and he clearly has like some sort of developmental mental disorder of some kind. I don't want to say on the spectrum, but on the spectrum. You know what I mean?
Sure.
Okay.
So he picks up this hobby where he tries to be the first to get to crime scenes, so he can get the scoop, and he starts working for a news station, and works his way to the top pretty much. He brings up the last place station into first because of his footage. And then eventually, he doesn't actually kill people in this, but he sort of even gets to the point where he's inciting murders so he can get like right on top of it. And he just like is in the door before police get there and like roaming the house with cameras and fucking blood and shit everywhere. It's actually a brilliant movie. And I highly suggest watching it. But anyway,
And not about Nightcrawler the X-Men.
not about the X-Men at all. Very unfortunately.
Very little Banff is what you're telling me.
So
Imagine sitting down with your children.
we're gonna watch Nightcrawler.
all right,
Yeah, Nightcrawler. He teleports through walls. It's like,
he's blue.
He's blue. I like Nightcrawler. Yep, that's right. Maybe Jennifer Lawrence will be in this one as Mystique. Oh boy.
Exactly.
Nope, that's not what it's about.
Oh, Jeff's kids are gonna be scarred for life.
Yeah. So
Okay, so yeah, he delivered the line badly, but maybe it's taken out of context,
Yeah,
and
I
that
was
he's
gonna say
hamming
that.
it up for cameras or something like that.
yeah.
Or it could be that he is literally playing the special effects guy, and or not like as an actor, quote unquote, in a scene.
Yeah.
So like an actor playing an actor in a film. Wow, that's so meta. But he's just delivering a shitty line, and
Yeah.
camera zooms out, and there he is, in this wonderful suit. And then later on in the film, he starts doing all this extra stuff.
Yeah. Well,
So they're in London,
Yeah.
and it's not like he's like a
No.
London performer.
No.
That's not London.
That wasn't London.
No.
Wasn't it by the bridge?
No, it looked like Venice.
Yeah, either
Oh, okay.
yeah, probably Venice Gondola.
Which
Yeah.
one was? Okay, so they were in London.
They were in London
At one
because
point,
there was
yeah.
double-decker bridges, and
Yeah.
we do see the London Bridge.
Yeah.
Okay, so even if that was in Venice, the point is that Jake Gyllenhaal's not European.
No.
So
And that's why I'm thinking
would he
maybe
be a
he
traveling magician? Maybe
could
like
be.
Copperfield.
is,
Maybe
maybe.
gypsy.
But that's why I was thinking maybe an
Yipsy.
actor. Just he's been transplanted as an actor.
Yeah, maybe.
For his
So
big
you're saying
part.
that whole clip could have just been a movie set,
Yeah,
and
just
not part of the main plot
not
at all.
part of the main
okay,
plot
yeah,
at all.
fair enough. Marvel
Right?
has tricked us before in that regard.
Right?
Yeah, they put entire. Have they ever put? I know they put lots of scenes in their trailers that never made the movies. That's
They
obvious.
fully lie in some of their.
yeah.
Yeah, but have they
trailers.
ever had a speaking scene in a trailer that was not in the movie? Like Hulk running through with the crowd. We know that one was fake for Infinity War.
I'm sure there is.
Deadpool, where he
But that's not
knifes
Marvel.
up all
that
the
wasn't
bullets.
Marvel. That wasn't Marvel at the time.
Oh, okay.
I mean, it's Marvel, but it's,
It's
like
Marvel, but
Nickelback
it's not
singing the
Marvel.
Beatles. It's good music, but it's crap.
On a side note, I kept seeing these things on the internet how Imagine Dragons are now the new Nickelback
Yeah.
over like one thing they did, and
Yeah.
I never found out what the one thing they did was, but
I have no
the
idea.
internet went crazy on them.
Yep.
Anyway, but like I just yes, I think Marvel has done speaking things that haven't made the movie. In fact, I think for Infinity War and one of their trailers was that.
Really.
Probably, I
I'm
wouldn't
pretty
doubt it.
sure.
I mean, given the way that Marvel likes to lead us into thinking one thing, and then when you get there, everything you had in your mind is just shattered,
Yeah.
right? It doesn't shock me that they would just throw us the curve. I mean, quite
Possibly,
honestly,
I mean, well, they also did it with Thor Ragnarok when he had two eyes, when he actually had one eye. But that's not a speaking role.
Not a speaking part though. Like it was, I'm curious to see if there's ever been a line delivered in a trailer that was just not in the movie, and even take a step further, was intentionally misleading. You know what I mean?
Okay, 'cause I was
because
gonna
that
say-
would be a first. If Mysterio in that clip has nothing to do with what the actual movie's about, and it was total bullshit.
but again, if it is, let's just assume for a second, for all we know, that's cutting room floor material, where they filmed it for some intended reason, and they're just like, "Oh, that's a shit scene. Let's cut it."
Yeah.
And then Kevin Feige was like, "Well, we need material for
A trailer that doesn't
for
spoil
trailer.
anything.
Let's
use
take
that."
this little shitty scene that nobody liked,
Yeah.
right? Like that could be a lot of what had happened. I mean, with Thor with Thor and Ragnarok and Hulk and the other, a little bit of CGI makes it all happen. But
Yeah.
it doesn't shock me that they would do this now, like reshooting scenes and having 37,000 takes for a lot of the stuff. You're gonna get a
Yeah.
shit take and might as well use it.
I fully expect Marvel to do that kind of stuff now.
Yeah.
Oh, for sure. But anyway, I hope it turns out better, obviously. And also, fucking Mysterio's costume. Like, they've been really good about modernizing the costumes for the movies. Like, really good. Like, the way they took Iron Man from 2008 to now, from the comics, is incredible.
Sure.
Like, they've really done it justice. And Thor, they realized that, like, the first two iterations of Thor were just like, he looked like a professional wrestler.
Yeah.
They're like, cut his fucking hair, okay? He doesn't have to be traditional long golden locks, fucking Thor.
No,
Doesn't
but
have to have the 6 tits.
I don't actually think that the hair cutting was like a horrible thing. You know?
No, it was good.
No, it was good, but like even if he had long hair, I don't think it would have been a horrible thing. He could have ponytailed that shit. He could have man bunned it. And like actually if he man bunned it, it would have made Thor Ragnarok just that extra level funnier, I think.
It's
Also
very
true.
But then you wouldn't have had the Stan Lee cameo of him cutting his hair.
That's true, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway,
But yeah, it was a character.
but you got to admit, like most of the time, they like Scarlet Witch is the perfect example. The way they've really toned down Scarlet, what they've realized, and what it seems that they've actively, consciously realized, is that we cannot put these people in leotards. Not all of them.
No.
Spider-Man, he's the strict exception. Everybody else, obsession. He's the strict obsession.
Strict subsection.
Everybody else, no. But him
Well, I
and
mean-
with a side of Captain America.
Black Widow totally like
She's in a onesie.
Well,
like,
she's
come
in a
on.
she's in a onesie, but not a leotard. Not like a Julie Newmar kind of like Catwoman leotard. She's in a onesie, like a fucking overall. but that's different. A leotard is like stretchy spandex.
Really?
from head
Do we
toe.
need to go
No,
back?
with
Yo.
the hood, with the
Wait, no,
stretchy
no.
hood?
Do
Like,
you really want to go back to
Disagree. I think Black Widow needs it. It's all about functionality
Yeah.
at that point.
Yeah.
Like Captain America also, it's not as tight as
No.
like Spider-Man.
it's got pieces. Like it's not a onesie leotard. It's got pieces. It's a shirt and pants that are just form fitting, but made of cloth for one. Like they're cotton, and they're not like fucking.
It's not Gore-Tex.
It's not, it's not just that. You know what I mean? Like I
No,
mean, this
Black
is a
Widow
podcast.
totally wears the same thing that Spider-Man would wear. Maybe not the same material, but it's
Yeah.
the same effect.
Same effect. I mean,
Like the point is here.
I
This is what
understand where you're going with originally,
what we're
how they
yeah.
modernized it.
Like
but
she's in like a fucking swimsuit with big cape and like horns on a tight fucking little.
look, I
Yeah, but also
get where
let's
you're
not
coming
forget
from.
Titty helmet.
Spider-Man isn't the strict subsection.
Yeah.
No, but he's the one that's allowed to wear the leotard. That's what I'm saying.
Yes.
No, but Black Widow is too.
No, but she doesn't though.
You're looking up Scarlet Witch, not Black Widow.
I know. Black Widow,
Yeah.
MCU.
Yeah. Really?
No,
That's
no,
not
no.
Leotard knit, boss.
No, it's not a leotard. It's got a zipper on it. You
Oh,
fucking...
my mistake. Zipper.
Oh, zipper.
I mean, Peter Parker's got a
onesie,
zipper,
but-
but it just happens to be on his back.
But at least, at the very least, it's solid black. So it's not too campy looking.
Spider-Man's
Wait,
also
wait,
going to
hold on,
wear
hold on.
a solid black.
Catwoman, solid black,
Yeah, but Catwoman's my example.
of a leotard.
No, but look, there's a difference
No,
between this.
look up Catwoman.
Look, no,
right next
look,
to that.
look. This is
You're
what I'm talking
looking at
about.
the same
We got to
thing.
simmer. We're getting really
This-
heated about
no.
this.
No, see, that is what I'm talking about.
How is that different?
Because look at it.
You're right. She's
Just
got a
use
belt.
it. I can't describe it on a podcast, Doug, but it's like vinyl, for God's sake.
It's vinyl.
Oh.
It's like a stripper. There's a difference.
The only difference I see between those two suits is the belt the Catwoman gets.
Well, that's
That's
true.
it.
And the fucking pointy ears, like this, they couldn't do. Okay, but anyway, my point is this: they modernized them. All
Yes.
the outfits, they found a way to make them work for movies, which is a different medium. You
Sure.
can't make them cartoons.
No.
And Scarlet Witch, I thought was the best example. They took her from that onesie, that little tight fucking gymnast leotard with the big flowing locks, to just wearing jeans and a jacket.
Ultimately, the difference is that in comic books, they need to wear these flashy costumes so you can identify them as, yes, they are a hero. They are.
Yeah.
They're,
They're
supposed to
separate.
stand out.
Yeah.
Whereas
Yeah.
the movies, you want them to dress, quote unquote, normal because you want to build a relationship with the character. So you have to identify with them
Yeah.
Also, the
versus
comic book,
having them stand out.
Sorry. Yeah, and also the comic books have a different subset, right? Like Scarlet Witch is the daughter to Magneto, who is also huge helmet, cape flowy,
Yeah.
right? So I mean, you're looking at two different sort of subsets,
Well,
right? Like, yes, I get Peter
No,
Parker.
but what Jeff's
is-
going with is that if Magneto were to come over the Marvel Universe, it should be modernized
Yeah.
and not look
Oh,
like
like
he's
just
wearing
ripped
fucking,
out of the comic book.
right, or he's wearing like football shoulder pads
Yeah.
and
But
to a
stuff like
certain-
that.
but-
and that point, Mysterio in the trailer has fucking football shoulder pads on
But-
with a cape.
That
Hold on.
being said, he's not wearing the fishbowl,
No.
which
He
is
is wearing the fishbowl.
I think
No.
in a couple
In
scenes.
the end of the clip, when
Really?
when it goes to him flying around, he's wearing the fishbowl.
Okay, but to a certain extent, I will also grant that we need to be able to recognize that character.
Fishbowl. You think about it.
It is.
Rewind a little bit here. What Stan Lee was thinking. Is Stan Lee character? Is that a Jack Kirby Stan Lee character? or-
Probably. I mean, it's
Yeah,
part
I
of
mean,
the
it was
Spider-Man.
Yeah.
so probably.
Can you imagine what they were thinking? It's like just looking around the office. It's like we need inspiration for a character. Jack, what do we got? I don't know. Hold on. The office goldfish just died. I gotta go dump this in the sink. I got it.
No, but like back then, coming up with superheroes was fucking easy.
Yeah,
I know.
no,
It's like
everything.
because Stan Lee came up with the Fantastic Four, and all he basically did was let's have one that can stretch really far. Yes, he's the leader.
Yep.
Okay, let's have one that can turn invisible.
Done.
His wife. Let's have one that's constantly in pain and on fire. The brother of the Invisible One.
Yep.
Let's have something really strong. rocks are strong. He'll be covered in rocks.
Yeah, that's
You know what I
basically
mean?
how it works.
Superhero team.
Yep. Yep.
Go Team 4.
Like, Spider-Man, I don't think was meant to be one of his greatest creations. I think he just thought, there's a spider there. What if some person could stick to walls too?
Yep.
Yeah.
And suddenly
create
that...
webs and
Or essentially had the properties of a spider.
yeah.
Right? And then you had Dr. Octopus, who was like, well, what if he couldn't be bitten? And just, he had to do it himself.
By the way, Stan Lee's interpretation of what qualifies as spider traits is a little bit askew from reality.
Yeah, of
Like,
course.
I don't know if you guys have ever handled spiders before,
Not
or like
particularly.
even like little house spiders that you find in basements. Like, you go near them and present the threat to them, they just stand still. They're like, ooh, my spidey sense is tingling. Better do something. Spiders just do nothing. They're
No,
just like,
there's-
oh god.
Okay, no. There's like... I watched this like documentary on it where they talked about that exact same thing, how
Yeah.
Stan Lee's interpretation, how it's not accurate, and then what that documentary did was for each one of Spider-Man's powers, they tried to find a spider that exhibited that trait. And apparently, there's one in the Amazon that when you get close to it, leaps really fucking far. Like,
Really?
out of the way as you get closer, because it perceives a threat and then just, like, fucking leaps
Just fucking out.
ridiculously far. Like,
So what you're
just
saying
fuck
is
this
Stan
shit,
Lee
I'm
was
out.
on
Like,
vacation.
leap, gone.
Was there one that could actually sling webs?
Oh, firing
No,
webs?
none of them.
Okay.
I'm sure, like, they can't. Wait, no, maybe.
There's probably one.
But you said
It's
you
like-
watched the show. Did they discuss that in the show?
Probably. I think there's one that, like, it, like, shoots a web and then, like, the wind carries it a bit and then it, like,
Oh,
shoots a web and. You know what I mean? Like one of those. I think that spider exists.
yeah. I mean, I sometimes do that when I find spiders here in the basement. I'll
Oh,
just,
I thought he was gonna
I'll
say he
cut
could
their
just,
web
like,
off with my
fire
finger
stuff off.
and then swing them around a little bit as they're like climbing up, and then I kill them.
Well,
You're a jerk.
mine is always like,
Jerk.
if anything, if you wanted like a serious threat, like why did you come up with Scorpion as like the threat to Spider-Man? You should have come up with Millipede Man. Because
Yeah.
those things are just fucking scary even to me.
How
Like,
much
I
do you
see
want to
those.
wager we actually had a millipede man?
Like, and they get big, like
They do.
the size of my finger big,
I know.
and like to the point where if I squish it, I'll actually have to deal with a mess.
Yeah.
Yep. That's a lot. They're gross. Unavoidable though. They're in every basement in the city.
Although, you know what? It's good when you do see them because they're a predatory insect and you know that they're killing all the shitty insects.
That's true.
It's
Yep.
true.
But you still don't like seeing them.
Yeah.
They're fucking
'Cause
gross.
They're not paying rent. They got to go.
They're little hair.
No, they're doing a job. Just they're
I do a
pulling their own
job.
weight.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're pulling their weight, man.
Yeah.
They're giving you free insect repellent.
Anyhow, so I don't know.
Fishbowl head.
In general, I thought the trailer was as good as you could be for
I
a
don't
trailer
know.
that has to be probably has to be very careful about what it reveals.
And vague, yeah.
Because like not only for its own sake, but Endgame is out 6 weeks before it, so or not quite
Is it?
7-8 weeks. Yeah,
So
it's
2
July,
months.
early July versus end of April. So like 8 weeks, 8 maybe even 9. But
Yeah, it's about 2 months. Give or
yeah.
take.
So yeah, you got to be careful.
at the
It's
same
a difficult timeline for Marvel.
Sure, but it's also a very boring one. Like it's a boring, dry trailer. Like
Yeah.
it tells me that they have a movie. It tells me it's gonna have a Spider-Man. It tells me it's gonna have a Nick Fury. It tells me it's gonna have a villain. But beyond that, it doesn't give me anything that I really care about.
No details. The
Nor should it. Why should it, though? Like, they definitely shouldn't give you any details.
No, it's not that I want details. I want something that is gonna make me go, yeah, that's a movie I need to see. I mean, I already know I'm going to go see it. Like, let's not
that's
split
why
any
they don't
hairs.
need to.
So, on that note, I had a point, and Doug, I just lost it looking at Doug.
About Doug, the fishbowl.
It was not about the fishbowl.
It was about how had to be vague.
Yes, it had to be vague.
Yeah.
So they already have made several concessions to Sony because of the timeline of these movies. Like they knew that because Endgame is releasing when it's releasing, they couldn't keep everything a secret. And if they could, if it were all their decisions, Sony's involved in the mix. And obviously I would love to be a fly on that wall, but probably when what's her face the person who's heading up the Sony side of things. It's
I don't know
Amy-
what her name is.
She's a somebody. She's got a significant portfolio. I just
Yeah, but I can't
don't know
think
her
of her
name. Versus Kevin Feige, they're sitting in a room going, and he's going, "Well, we'd really like to not reveal that Spider-Man is alive." And he's like, "Well, just we'll tell everybody that the movie is set beforehand." And it's like, "Well, yeah, but how do we explain Nick Fury's presence? Like, where's he been? Why is he randomly just showing up?" It's like, okay, well, we can make it after, but make it far after. It's like, yeah, but Tom Holland doesn't age, you know? Like, what are we supposed to do? Pretend he's 30 years old? Like, well, okay. So, like, they probably went over all these stupid options, and then they were just like, you know what? Here's the deal, Kevin. We have a movie coming out in July. We're putting trailers out. We're willing to work with you, but we're not changing anything about the movie just to fit your overall narrative. And I think what ended up happening was Kevin Feige just looked at what happened after Infinity War. He looked at the internet comments and all the social media buzz and just went, you know what? Everybody already suspects that the dusted people are coming back. So let's just fuck it. Like, fine. Spider-Man's alive. You guys know that. Spoiler. Good. Move on.
Well, this is...
I don't even think it was Sony, though, because they've already had... 2 years ago, they had the movie slated for this being its release date. The second Homecoming came out, there was already a number 2 in the works.
Yeah, I think Feige already had plans around this, and everyone knew that Spider-Man couldn't die because there's more movies to come, right? Even before we went to any of the Avenger, whatever, I forget what it's called, and not Endgame.
Infinity War.
Thank you. Before we even walked in, we knew that Spider-Man, regardless to what happens on screen, has another movie coming.
I think, in fact, when he and Black Panther in particular got dusted, it was at that moment that in the theater you went, oh, okay, so it's not real. Like when Bucky died, he was the first one to be dusted. When Bucky died, it was like, that could stick. Like they don't need Bucky anymore. And I think that sequence that I was Black Panther, and at that point you're like, wait a minute. I know Black Panther 2 is being filmed.
Okay, so I went the reverse behind it because I walked into it thinking like, oh, okay, yeah, you know, Black Panther's coming out. What the fuck? They're dusted?
Yeah.
How's that going to work?
Yeah.
And I actually considered them doing a Black Panther movie without Black Panther. Yeah. Because in Black Panther 1...
he disappears.
He's gone for like 20 minutes.
Yeah.
He's considered dead for 20 minutes of the movie. A movie that's only like... What,
2
like
hours
2
long?
hours long? So that's 1/8 the movie.
Yeah. Yep, it's true.
That's a considerable amount of time.
One sixth of the movie, but nice try.
Yeah.
But still,
math. I'm thinking of quarters. But anyway, going forward with this, like it was so good that it got an Oscar nod.
Yeah, it did.
Best Picture. Like that's how you like. That's what I considered a good superhero movie because it went 1/6 of the movie. Without a fucking superhero in it. Like,
I mean, it is a very good film on its own merits.
Yeah.
But, I mean, just like Greg, I walked out thinking that both of these films are going to have to be prequels.
It's possible. But
well, I mean,
I think you have to at least
be.
concede that, like, most people eventually were like, okay, these guys are coming back.
Sure, but I mean...
Especially in light of all of
especially
after all the sequence played out, and it was revealed that it was the original 5 of the original 6 that lived plus Rhodey. Then it's like, okay, those guys are off contract. We know Captain America is probably out, and maybe at least one, maybe 2 others. They're going to reverse it somehow. Where all the dust people come back, they're the future of the MCU, and they're going to find a way to switch it up and retire some of the old ones.
Let's not split any hairs.
I've got a theory here.
Sure.
What if the people that live in Infinity War, that's the universe that gets destroyed?
Yeah, that's what I was about to say. What if we just suddenly go, oh, well, let's focus on this new universe that has a Fury and everyone else, and these people no longer exist. And that's
leave
why
them separated and just never touch on the...
No, but like if that universe gets destroyed.
Well, I was not even thinking destroyed. It just...
That's too much.
Like the original one that we've been watching for the past 10 years is the one that actually gets destroyed.
Oh, man. That would be weird.
It would be weird. Okay, so here's the possible flaw that I'm sure we can work through.
Sure.
Is that half of them is in the new universe, half of them in the old universe, the one that we've been watching for 10 years. Doctor Strange is in the new universe because he was dusted.
Yep.
Now, the whole point to this was so that half of the universe's population doesn't die.
Yes.
So, how can we poke holes in that so that the old universe gets destroyed and the new universe is actually the one that we're now going to start to follow?
Well,
Because they've done this once before in the past in Marvel, where in like 1986, they had a clone of Spider-Man and they fought above a smokestack, and one of them fell in the smokestack and died, and the other one lived. And you knew that the one that lived was the original and the one that fell in the smokestack was the clone. Now, fast forward, it's like 1998, and a writer decides, hey, why don't we make it so that the one that fell into the smokestack was the original,
yeah.
and the one that survived was the clone. And so that's what started the whole Spider-Man clone saga.
Yeah.
And readers fucking hated it because they're like, for the past decade, we've been following a clone.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
F this.
But I think that's the thing. I mean, we had the discussion with using the Soul Stone as this is where people go, right? When he snapped, it wasn't that they created two parallel universes. We literally dusted people and put them in the Soul Stone. Maybe the dusting is the people essentially being evacuated out of the Soul Stone, and he has essentially pulled everyone in, and some of them get forced back in.
Yeah.
I mean,
Okay.
we don't. Again, our limited purview. I mean, let's not forget also
Purview?
purview.
Well, one way that Captain
like-
America could make his exit is that
Like Cosby view?
Yes.
maybe they find a way to remerge the universes, but somebody, at least one person, holding the key, whatever the
key
let's
is.
call it what it is, the goober,
Yeah,
or whatever
okay.
whatever fucking what's his face calls it in
No, it's the
Spider-Verse,
goober, yeah.
So if there's one guy that's got to stay behind in Alpha universe holding the goober.
Yep.
And while everyone else goes back to Beta and it remerges, except for the one guy, that could be the Captain America figure.
That could be
well,
the Captain America. That could be
whoever it is.
the original Avengers figures.
Yeah, it could be all
Yeah.
four of them holding the goober.
Well, I have
Save
figured,
everybody else and put
Right.
them all back. Or at
Yeah,
least
they'll
two of them.
probably
I don't think
keep-
it's going to be all four.
No.
First of all, I don't think Hemsworth is done. I don't think
No.
Ruffalo's done.
No.
I didn't think so.
And,
But
I
it's-
cannot see Robert Downey Jr. walking away.
Well,
Fuck.
this is why I would like two separate universes that every once in a while the quantum gap is the point where you can cross this point over. So every once in a while we could have them drag through the quantum universe when we need them as the mystical MacGuffin suddenly helps. Right? So if we need a Captain America, we just dig into the MacGuffin
First
bag
of all,
now.
we've agreed on the term goober.
Sorry.
So
The mystical goober.
I'm getting really confused with the MacGuffins because, like, that's the crime-fighting dog.
no, that's McGriff.
McGriff.
No, wait, no, that's McGruff. McGruff. McGriff is the baseball player that's named the crime dog because his name is McGriff, like McGruff.
That's right.
MacGuffin is a term that means goober.
Yeah.
But they mean the same thing. Let's
They
Google
totally
that right
do.
now.
That's okay. So where I'm
MacGuffin
going
is the
with
thing that
this
we've
is
always
that
used.
Doctor Strange needed to keep Tony Stark alive. So
Yeah.
what is it about the goober
Fine, we'll
that
use
Tony
goober.
Stark needs to be around for to activate or do?
Yeah, a MacGuffin, by the way, just to interrupt, TV tropes is MacGuffin is a term used for a motivating element in a story that is used to drive the plot and it serves no other purpose.
Okay.
So-
That is exactly what a goober is in Into the Spider-Verse. But there's no article yet on Magoo.
There.
Oh, there
yeah.
we go.
Film's all important MacGuffin is given the name Goober.
Okay, all right. Anyway,
So yeah, we're
that
speaking
ends
the same
that
thing.
dispute. MacGuffin predates Goober.
So I'm
Okay.
an old
I know,
fart for using
but
MacGuffin.
you know, Goober is like pretty hip and fresh.
I am not hip and fresh. I don't know.
Especially
if you know me.
since it was in the Spider-Verse, which was also nominated for Best Animated Picture.
That's true.
It's true. So we have to use Goober, is what you're telling me.
Okay, but anyway,
Well, for our young viewers.
so who's holding the goober then, if that's the theory?
So no, what I was saying earlier, what I just said while you were looking at MacGuffin was, what does Tony Stark need? Like, why does he need to be around to activate the goober? Because it has to be something that only Tony Stark can do.
Yeah.
Well,
That has to be what the goober is.
no, it doesn't have to be. He has to.
Why
be
does
the,
he need to be alive then?
No, but he has to be the catalyst point. Maybe it's something that him and Captain America have to do together, right? Maybe it's something in Captain's DNA and his ability to open it
Because
up.
they hate each other, so maybe if they kiss,
Yeah.
their love is strong enough.
to reunite the worlds.
Yeah.
Right? But we don't know. Like, all we know is from the limited number of people that were on Titan, Tony Stark is important.
There's
Right?
like 8 people on Titan or something.
And the rest of them got dusted.
Except for Nebula.
Oh, fine. Nebula.
Yeah, who may also be important. You know what?
Yes.
You could honestly, you could talk for forever about Endgame spoilers
Yeah.
and theories because there are so many questions that need to be answered. I keep going back to that. There's just so many. Like, how in a 3-hour movie, which they've already sort of teased is going to be 3 hours.
Yeah.
How in a 3-hour movie are they going to include, for example, the Professor Hulk plot, which we suspect is coming?
Well, we've gone further than suspect. We know it's there.
Yeah, like so somehow this Hulk psychology problem is going to work itself out, and it's probably going to work itself out in the form of Banner and Hulk becoming one person, sharing the same life,
Or Banner
just like Professor Hulk.
Yeah.
And it has been proven that Hulk can learn.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's an interesting thing. So Hulk can learn. He goes from being a grunty nothing in The Incredible Hulk to having full, albeit broken, conversations with Thor in Ragnarok.
Yeah.
So he is getting smarter. Now, how you get him super smart, by extension, it would be to go forward in time. Accelerate time so that Hulk can live 10,000 years in Hulk's body and become brighter.
Or
See.
there is some...
But that would kill Banner, essentially, and that wouldn't happen.
Well, no. There could be some goober that... And yes, I
Exactly.
use the term.
Some goober that combines them along the way.
No, I was thinking that Tony may have some goober that would help this.
I don't think Tony
Well, I mean,
would
they
be
put
the...
together
Okay,
Vision.
straight up, I don't think Tony would be the one to do that, just because that seems like a mental problem, which is kind of outside Tony Stark's
No.
scope. What it possibly would be Scarlet Witch would do something like that, or possibly Vision with the Wisdom Stone or Mind Stone or something like that.
But that's what I was going to say. I mean, at
Like-
one point, those two worked on putting Vision together, giving life based on an AI. Maybe somewhere in that MacGuffining... Yes, I used MacGuffining rather than
wait.
goopering,
Wait,
because that just sounds bad.
do you think it might be Shuri from
Shuri?
Shuri?
From Wakanda?
Shuri?
Yeah.
Shuri? Yeah.
Because she's like
Yeah.
she seems like way smarter than most of the Avengers.
I think she's going to
Yeah.
be Iron Lad, actually.
Really?
Oh, the
Yeah.
next iteration.
Either her or the kid from Iron Man 3 who is coming back. I don't know if you guys were aware of this.
no.
He's in Endgame.
Oh, really?
The little
Okay.
kid from Iron Man 3 that Tony Stark buddies up with.
Oh, in the
Which is
shack?
another element. Like, how are they answering all these questions in one movie?
They're not going to. They're going to leave some open.
I'm just exploding. Like, every... Like, for example, another example. I keep thinking back to fucking Spider-Man Homecoming. And Happy, while clearing out Stark Tower to move upstate, says... Okay, what do we got here? We got blah, 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 blah. We got Captain America's new shield. And it's like, Captain America's new shield! How can you not fucking flesh that out? He's going to die this movie. I want to know when he gets his new fucking shield and what it's about. And then I keep thinking to myself, okay, that's a great opportunity to introduce the X-Men properties into the MCU. Because what they do is they say, yes, Captain America has a new shield, says Tony Stark. And then Captain America says, you made me a new shield? And he says, yeah, I've been working on it in some sort of shy, bashful fashion of like... I just was thinking about you, and I figured if you ever came back, I'd have something for you.
And that's when the chapstick goes on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and then he sees the new shield, and he says, "Where did you get the vibranium?" And then Tony Stark looks at him and goes, "It's not vibranium." It's like, "It's not vibranium." It's like, "No, it's stronger than vibranium." What's stronger than vibranium? And then he looks at the camera, or like in sort of the direction. It's
Our
like,
love?
no, it's actually made of adamantium. And then that's when they introduce the X-Men
logo.
properties, right? That's where they just slide it in, right?
Okay.
I mean, yeah.
So
And-
possible. That's a great little segue.
Yeah.
Because I've tried to segue like 3 times this podcast, and you guys keep ignoring it. But continuing on, that makes a lot of sense. Also, in other iterations, Captain America's shield was like a force field type thing.
Yeah.
Yep.
So that kind of seems like it could be a Tony Stark thing, like turning it into a force field. Because Iron Man currently uses force fields and shit like that.
Yeah.
Force repulsion.
force fields. Are you trying to segue into something else?
No. That's actually like a thing.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
Like where it's just a device on his wrist.
yeah. that
And
becomes
when
a
he
shield.
activates it, it basically becomes like a fucking lightsaber type energy,
Yeah.
but it's a shield and like blocks and stuff.
Yeah.
And he can shoot it as opposed, and it like maintains like the frisbee type
Oh.
thing for a short amount of time, and then dissipates, and then it just turns on another shield. You know, like you
Yeah.
basically just fire shields off.
Nice.
It's just really like there's so many little things like that they, if these characters really are dying, they got to kind of wrap up. You know, they introduce this stuff, and as a fan, I want to see what happens. I want to know what happens.
But Jeff,
They've been leaving Adam Warlock hanging since the end of Guardians 2. When are we going to see that motherfucker
He's
show
probably
up?
not coming around until
What
Guardian.
about fucking Morbo or whatever his name? What's his name? The Doctor Strange villain at the end in the end credits teaser, the black guy who turns on Doctor Strange.
Oh yeah, with the boots of striding, him or something.
Yeah. Like what the fuck happens with that story arc?
I figured he was gonna be the counterpoint to Doctor Strange,
Still
and he
might
would
be.
have a bigger role in like these Marvel movies. But
Yeah.
it seems like Mysterio is totally just stepping in.
Yeah.
well, for now, I mean, for all we know, this was just a scene that they're fucking us around with.
Yeah. But anyway,
CGI, right?
so speaking of endgame theories,
Uh-oh.
the big prevailing theory that was released recently that I was banned from the Marvel Studios subreddit for spoiling by accident. Let me tell you the story.
You tell the story.
Okay,
man.
so what happened was I was going to make a post about it, and I was going to write a title and put the spoiler in the text, which was allowed, and then link to the article where it was spoiled. But I accidentally put the sentence that I had typed out in the title. I went about something at work where I was doing this, and then in somewhere in between there, I clicked submit, and then I was like, "Oh fuck! I'll just delete it and repost." But the mods saw it, and they have to ban you. It's just a no fucking exceptions rule. So I messaged them. I said, "Can you please unban me? It was an honest mistake. I meant to put it in the text with spoiler tag." And then they said, "We'll consider it come the end game release." So I'm banned for 3 months. But
Bum, bum, bum.
but what I was spoiling was Samuel L. Jackson did a set piece on the Captain Marvel set with I don't remember what fucking
He's
internet
doing
rag
some
it was.
internet.
It may have been Vice, may have been The Verge. I don't remember which fucking one it was, but it was one of those internet rags. And they interviewed him on set, and he said, "Well, this is going to be an interesting film because Captain Marvel is the only character in the MCU that can time travel." And of course, the internet was like collectively, "What the fuck?" Like, that's new. Hadn't heard of that before.
Mm-hmm.
And then apparently the reporter who was on set also described a scene they were filming. I don't know if you heard this, Greg. But
I just saw the interview.
the scene that was described involved Captain Marvel turning to Nick Fury and saying, "You grab the Tesseract and let's get the hell out of here." So once again, we have an Infinity Stone showing up in the 1990s. Apparently, they're in possession of the Tesseract, and that's somehow involved in the Captain Marvel plot. So how this relates to Endgame theories is now all of a sudden the internet's once again ablaze with concepts about how her time travel ability will factor into all of this, and whether Ant-Man's ability to time travel is even needed.
It's still. I would
Okay,
think it's
so-
still needed.
So what beats an Infinity Gauntlet?
2 Infinity Gauntlets.
Essentially, yeah.
Yeah.
So what you do is you have Captain Marvel get all the Infinity Stones in the past and set up like basically a Magic the Gathering counter spell. Got 2 blue mana up. What are you gonna play, Thanos? Oh, you're snapping counter.
Well, yeah.
Whoever runs out of mana first.
Actually, it's whoever runs out of cards first.
Yeah.
Anyway, but the point is maybe it's something as simple as that.
Could be.
Or it could just be setting up how stones appear in the past by accident.
Yeah.
Or if what
mean-
they do is they just reposition all the stones in a way that they can't actually be assembled.
There's so many ways
that
they
would-
could go about it. God, like you literally can talk forever.
They
about
got to
it.
fuck with the Soul Stone. I think that's the one that was.
See, the problem is the Tesseract stone is so key to how everything unfolds. Removing it would sort of like remove like a house of cards.
I think the Tesseract stone is the second strongest stone.
Well, it's the
but it
most
was the first one
important
we saw.
It's the second one we saw. The first one was the Power Stone. He had it already.
No.
No.
In all Marvel.
In all
Marvel. Yes,
Right.
yes, yes.
So you remove that as the locus, where humans no longer worry about power, like all these Tesseracts. They don't start trying to use it. It doesn't beacon out. And by the way, Thanos doesn't know where it is.
True.
Right? Like all these.
Yeah, and having the Space Stone apparently is what opens the way for the rest of them, because it allows you to have knowledge of all space.
Yeah.
And like, so it isn't just a matter of,
Does it though?
yeah. Apparently that's one of its properties, and that according, I think the Russos tweeted about this. That's why Thanos goes for it second. He knew where the Power Stone was for obvious reasons, and then it's like, okay, got the Power Stone. Now I need the one that's going to allow me to spatially recognize the location.
I don't
of
think
others.
that's true. I
But
don't think
he
that's
didn't
true
know where
because
the
he
last
didn't know
stone
where
was.
the Soul Stone was.
No, but
He
that's
had to interrogate that out of someone.
right.
So like,
Unless-
if he had, and
Maybe
that's
there's a range
after
to
he
it.
had it.
No, it might be that the Soul Stone wasn't within the universe. We couldn't know where it was.
No, it was. It was on a planet. Like
Do we
No.
know it for sure? 'Cause he
No.
just wakes up with it.
Yeah.
no, because like he couldn't find it because. Oh,
No.
you're saying the stone itself is
It's
part of a
It's
part
part
of
of
it.
dimension.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
And
a
that's
pocket
what you
in
have to
universe,
do.
and that's how he gets to it.
But then
and he
how
comes
did,
back
how did
with it.
Gamora find it?
Because he knew where the other ones
No,
were.
no, there was a
No,
there was a map,
She's the one that found
but
it.
she had a map. She found a map that detailed where it was, and she
Yeah.
burned it.
Yeah.
But she told,
Nebula.
thank you. She told Nebula, and that's how he interrogates the shit out of Nebula, who says she knows where it is.
Interrogates the shit out of her. I love that. That's great. Interrogated the shit out of her. I just kept asking questions.
Well, he did. He just happened to be stretching her body while doing it.
So okay, yeah, I guess that makes some sense. But I think just an overall power level, it's the second strongest.
Beyond time, I guess.
Time is the first strongest.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Uh,
you can basically make time do
that-
anything you want.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Like it's got to be the first strongest. Second strongest has to be the Space Stone
Yeah.
because just unlimited travel in instantaneous is just an amazing power.
Yeah.
Like it's so clutch.
Well, it allows
See,
you.
that's why I think he needed it first, because like what the Space Stone allows you to do is not just sense the presence of other Infinity Stones, but sense their general location.
Well, I
It
think
gives you spatial awareness of the universe.
the problem is the Time Stone was also pocket universed. That's why when he handed over the stone, he took it, started to look at it, and was like, "Wait, no, because he's probably
the
no,
Eye
it
of
was-
Agamotto was just a fake.
I know, and that was the whole thing. It was probably pocket universed. He handed over the stone, looked at it, and when he realized he couldn't see it as a soul stone, he suddenly went, "Huh, no, give me the real one." But at the time,
What?
Because what happens is like he can sense where all the stones are, and he knew that the wizard had one.
Oh,
But once he
couldn't
handed
s-
over
couldn't
the-
sense
Yeah.
the soul stone on the wizard.
maybe
yeah.
the Time Stone.
the Time Stone.
Yes,
Yeah.
sorry, the time stone on the wizard.
And when he hands it over and he suddenly feels that the thing he has is not the thing he is looking for, that's why, because remember, he took the stone, looked at it for a second, and was like, "Great trick, give me the stone," right?
No, he didn't take the stone.
we
He
all
took the
know-
Eye of Agamotto.
We all know.
He ripped the necklace off.
Give me your Jew gold.
Yes. Yes, I know, but
We all know.
he did, and that,
They've got
because
fake
again,
Jew gold from the real Jew gold.
Carter, there's no such thing.
but again, he thought he had the stone by taking it because again, it represented what he thought it was, and when it didn't turn out to be what he was, that's why he went back for it again.
Give me your real Jew gold.
Real Jew gold. I know you have a fake Jew gold on your car.
Just for situations like this.
Yeah. He takes it off. Oh,
Yeah.
that's really good. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Honestly, you could go on forever about this. There's just so many questions about
course.
every single character. What happens to Vision's body?
Well,
Does he
nothing.
come back? Which of the non-dusted dead come back? How are they going to bring Loki back?
Loki
getting-
was never dead. Loki was never dead.
I don't believe he was dead either. I think I'm still sticking with my guns on this one. There's no way a character that cunning, that smart, that crafty would just try to stab Thanos in the heat of the moment. There
If
was a plan.
Yeah, it was. I'm sure he doppelganged out and
Absolutely. He doppelganged out. I'm stunned, in fact, that he handed over the Tesseract so readily. But I guess
I'm not.
Okay, but like, see, here's where I think he might actually be dead, is because if he did some sort of illusion or something to get away from Thanos, it would have only been like a temporary thing to gain the upper hand, like to gain the advantage. It would have just been an illusion for like the next 30 seconds, and if it shows him dying, well, the real Loki like falls down from the rafters with like a huge sword to stab him or something like that. I don't think it would have been like a long-term illusion to escape. Granted, he's all about survival, but
that's the key. He knows until Thanos leaves, until he exits the building, he is still. First off, he worked for Thanos and decided, I'm done. I'm going to take your stone and outie.
But he can't really hide for like the next lifetime.
He can try. He's done it before.
I guess.
Right? All he has to do is stay away from Thanos for now. He's given Thanos exactly what Thanos wants, so he doesn't need Loki anymore for anything. So he's not got a hard-on to kill Loki for shits and giggles. Right? Here's your thing. I'm going to, attempt to leave. He attempts to stab him for good measure, and dashing away the doppelganger. If he's around the corner and just looking out, you kill the doppelganger. He is dead. For everything Thanos knows, Loki is Loki dead.
Well, okay,
you don't need to hunt him down again.
But we know he's alive because he's getting a TV show.
Isn't that set as a prequel?
Yeah, I thought it was prequel because it was with Scarlet Witch.
Scarlet Witch is also getting one.
She's getting a separate one.
Oh, I thought there were...
Scarlet Witch and Vision it's called. And The Vision. And I do not believe either of them have been slated as prequels. I'm under the
I thought
impression
that's where
they're
we
both
were.
sequels.
I didn't think
I
there were
heard
sequels.
I heard prequel though.
Yeah.
For Loki.
For Loki? Let's see this shit.
Okay. Go nuts.
Will the Loki show be
The Loki
The
show.
Loki Show.
Oh, man. Now I want to watch it
prequel.
twice as much.
We're in for a really big show. Really big. Today, Loki will be speaking to such Marvel characters like The Thing.
Well, all I can think of is like...
recasting young Loki for his MCU TV show?
See, young. It's going to be prequeled. It's fine.
Don't like it.
Young Loki.
And he looks stupid.
First of all, Loki's 1,500 years old.
So young Loki is like what, 1,200?
Yeah, it depends how their maturation cycle works. Like, I've been talking about this recently with my wife. Now...
I'm glad this is like pillow talk.
It is. So, now...
Honey.
Now, this
If
is...
Loki's only... Honey, we're fucking like I'm a 1,200-year-old Loki, not a 1,500-year-old Loki.
So,
Nice.
let me get you up to speed.
Point is, it's
So-
all about deception on length.
Right.
Yeah. So this is the thing, all right? So dogs live for about, my little dogs, so small dogs, like we can get about 15 years out of them, right?
Yeah. Anywhere
Yeah.
from 8 to 15 are most breeds of dogs.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So small ones last longer. They can breed, at least, definitely the males. I'm not sure about the females and their ability to reproduce, but at the very least, you can get a good 7-8 litters out of a dog, right?
Depending, yeah.
So what that means is, let me walk you through this.
Sure.
In fact, you don't even need 7 or 8 litters because that's not important in this example, but it ties in. So let's say a 1-year-old Chihuahua mix gives birth to a litter.
Yep.
1-year-old, because that's when you physically mature.
Yeah.
Not even. They can actually, I think, up to like 9 months or something like that,
But-
they can get preggers.
Years.
Yeah.
We solidly say that's
So let's just say a
maturation
year.
cycle.
I'm just
Here-
going to concede your wisdom on this. I don't
Yeah.
know when Chihuahuas mature.
So year, get preggers. Your kids, a year later, get preggers. Their kids, a year later, get preggers. You can have, theoretically, 15 generations of family alive at once. And
a
if
full
they
house
can
of
indeed
dogs.
reproduce 8-9 years in their life, you can have great, 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 great grandchildren that are actually older than your fucking kids. Right? You following me?
Okay.
So in the context of fucking Loki and Thor, who are Asgardians who live at least 1,500 years, we don't know how fucking old Odin is. And clearly virile at 1,500. They look like they're men in their, at the most, early 40s.
Well, there's regeneration chambers. I mean, we established that.
Okay, well, whatever the fucking case, Doug, they still be getting their dick hard. And they still be making babies capably.
Well, hold on. You know what? That's probably less likely than you consider, but go nuts.
So, first of all, what I want to know is, at what age do they become adults?
But again,
for how long can they fucking reproduce for?
Well,
okay, so I'm in my early 30s, and I'm noticing, it's not quite the towel hook like it used to be.
Yeah.
So
yeah, mine's more like a dollar store towel hook.
So broken.
Like it's good for 3 weeks, but then you put like an extra heavy, wet sort of like gym towel on it, and it just cracks. And you gotta go buy a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's got a fucking screw hanging out of it. It doesn't quite sit right.
Oh man.
Or you got to stick it onto the wall with like some fucking 2-way adhesive.
So I'm wondering, Thor's been around for a while. I think he's probably at the same stage in life at 1,500 years that I am in my early 30s.
This is my question on the regeneration chamber. Does it dial you back? Like, let's say you get Odin's age of 60-ish, our general age. Does it dial you back to 40 and just be like, go nuts? You got another 20 years of happiness? Does it dial you? Can you dial back to like 20 and be like, nah?
Well, do you know that there are these things called regeneration chambers?
Yeah, Odin gets put in one in the first.
But that just heals him. It doesn't reverse his age.
But that was the whole thing. He was essentially going to extend his life this way, and he's been doing it on a repeated basis.
Okay, maybe that's true, but that doesn't necessarily de-age the person.
No, I'm just saying maybe that's a dial. Maybe that's how you get to 1,500 years, right? It dials you back to 20. You age up to 60, dial back to 20.
Fair enough,
60,
but like
right, and then you just keep cycling.
No, I'm thinking it's like a pause.
Okay.
Like a pause thing. Like you go, you hibernate, and it's like a pause on your aging.
Okay.
And therefore, when you wake back up, you still continue aging, and that's why you can go 1,500 years.
Maybe, but it doesn't. Okay.
You know what I mean?
So here's the thing: Thor is aware he's 1,500 years old, and it sounds like he's got full memories from all 1,500 years. There's never any mention.
He learned the language of Groot because it was an elective.
Yeah. It's a lot of learning.
Which I love that line, by the way, because Groot language seems like the easiest language to learn. It's like such a bird course.
No, it would be incredibly difficult. Like
now it would be, but like when you originally think of it, it's like, oh, I'm Groot. Oh, that's their language.
But you have to learn how to interpret meaning of every word in the English language from 3 words.
It's not even just 3 words. He could be like, I am.
Yeah. Yeah, like Pikachu. Imagine trying to speak Pikachu.
Oh, we're gonna go see that movie, and I'm gonna adore it so much.
But okay, so back to my overarching question was: are they like dogs in that they matured like humans? Like after 18 years, they can fucking reproduce. 18, not even 8, like 12.
Sure.
And after using Doug as an example, our friend Doug here has looked the same way since he was 19.
Yeah.
Like, he looks like he's now he did when he was 19. His Facebook photo is still from when he was fucking 19 years old. And you,
actually, I was
aside
18,
from the shitty quality of the photo, you can't tell the difference between this Doug and that Doug. Yeah. But anyway, so is it like that, where they mature like us as humans, but then they just live a virile adult life for the span of the whole 1,500 years, which means they can have generations upon generations of children, and technically be roughly peers, like the same age as some of their great fucking grandchildren, and despite being like 10 generations apart, being in the same peer group. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And which would make them like dogs. Or do they have lifespans that are proportionately the same in terms of pacing as humans, just longer? So instead of 18 years to adulthood, it's like 200 years before they become an adult, which would make young Loki make sense.
If you look at it in percentiles versus The
And I
first
think-
20% of their life is adolescence.
Yeah.
So that's the only way that young Loki makes any fucking sense. Because
Well, I
young
mean-
Loki for 12 fucking years on Asgard, who gives a fuck? And how would he look any different? You know, it's Hiddleston for 1489 years and fucking whoever the fuck they're going to cast for young Loki for the first 11 or some shit. You know what I mean?
No, I
Fucking
understand.
bullshit!
I honestly think they can't get Hiddleston.
Yeah.
Well,
because-
he's going to be in it, it says, according to this
Really?
article. It's just that it's not only going to be him. From what I understand.
Is he flirted between good and evil ever since?
Tom Hiddleston would be reprising his role as Asgard's greatest anti-hero. However, rumors have continued to suggest that Hiddleston won't be the only actor playing Loki in the series. So this could be a flashback situation from time to time.
It might be. Let's not forget, he is a frost giant child,
Yeah.
and I believe Odin stole him off the battlefield. So it could be flashbacks to those points where when he was a frost giant and things he suddenly remembers.
Yeah. The current favorite to play him would be... Oh, the guy from Bandersnatch. Fionn Whitehead. Have you guys seen Bandersnatch?
I have not. What is it? Is it like, okay, so I've heard it is like one of your choose your own story things.
Choose your own adventure movie. Yeah, it is.
And it's on
Oh,
Netflix.
Yeah.
So how do you actually choose your own adventure?
With one of these right here.
A
Really?
remote control.
Yeah. That's exactly how you choose it. I've watched it.
Yeah.
It's very good. I loved it. Kate fucking hated it. I loved it.
So,
It was
okay,
great.
So what, you did
So, like,
every
does it
little
pause?
iteration and change?
I stopped after a while. I just looked it up online to see what the different outcomes would be. But yeah,
So hold on. So the movie goes along, it stops, and then you have to like,
it doesn't stop. There's a timer,
yeah.
a 10-second timer to make your choice, and it gives you the two options at the bottom of the screen. You use your arrows here at the bottom to navigate back and forth.
and if you don't make the selection,
It just makes whatever one for you that you highlighted at the time.
so always the first one.
No, sometimes it starts on the second one.
Oh, okay.
So in
Mixes
other
it
words,
up.
there is a default path it wants to take, but
No,
you
it's
can.
different every time.
Oh,
It from what I saw, the highlighted part is different in every instance. Sometimes
no,
it's
no.
on the
But I
left,
mean, if you
sometimes
were
it's
to
on the
watch,
right.
but if you were to watch again
It'd
from
be
the
different.
From
start,
scratch.
It'd be different.
really.
Yeah.
So it just picks a random.
It seems like it, yeah, because every time it would come to a two-part choice, the cursor would sometimes be on the right and the cursor would sometimes be on the left.
But that's not what I'm saying. I'm saying if you were to start from scratch again,
Would it always be in the
would
same?
it always the
I
first
don't
one
know-
be on the left?
I don't know
the second one be on the
explicitly,
right?
but I do know you get to make the same choice more than once. So I saw it appear on different sides
Okay.
each time. I don't know what the mechanism is. I don't know how it's programmed. Can't
So I was
tell
gonna
you.
say
We're looking-
it would be nice if it was a default path and you could watch the default movie all the way through, and then watch it again and just be like, oh, this choice back.
It's not like that. You got to watch it to realize how
Okay.
it's not really like that.
Sure.
But I definitely recommend you watch it. I
Okay,
loved
so
it.
I'm looking
But I'd
at
have to
this,
get Netflix. Screw
I'm
that
looking
noise.
at this photo of Loki, and his eyes look weird.
But that's not.
It's
That's
just
not
the
how-
actor.
It's just like one eye seems higher
Yeah, it
on his
does.
face than the
Well,
other.
'cause the guy's fucking got a lopsided face, Greg. Okay, you didn't have to point it out.
Wow.
Well, you know, like, good for him. Making the best of it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's right. Being a quirky-looking actor,
It looks like he's in war. I know.
he is in this one. But this isn't from Bandersnatch. Anyway,
Anyway.
bottom line is we've talked for long enough.
Okay.
Okay.
Yes, we definitely
So,
have.
but speaking of Bandersnatch, do you think that would be up for an Oscar nomination?
No, it wouldn't. But you know what? Which one is? As we mentioned before, Black Panther is up for an Oscar nomination for Best Picture, the first ever comic book movie to make the cut. If
Yep.
you don't count, hold on. I know there's another one that did make the cut, but it wasn't. It was only a comic book movie, very technically.
Batman?
It was not Batman. I kept going. I'm thinking Dick Tracy in my head. Was that a comic book originally?
It was a
Who Framed
comic.
Roger Rabbit?
No.
Who Framed Roger Rabbit was not a comic book, but Dick Tracy was a comic.
Yeah. So I'm thinking one of those might have had a Best Picture.
But I don't think Dick
Might have-
Tracy
might have
had
been
it.
Riverdale.
Doubt it was Riverdale. Just going out on a limb here. Doubt it was
Yeah.
Riverdale. But anyway, yeah, big deal.
It was Marmaduke.
I hope it wins. It won't.
It might actually. It's what's it up against? You know.
He's up against not very good movies, honestly. Like, it's been a weak year for artsy films.
So,
you know
I mean-
what though? Like, Not Morgan Freeman. Guy who played
What you call it?
the agent
Oh,
in Black Panther.
Martin Freeman.
okay.
All of us went immediately to the black thing. He said Morgan Freeman. We were all like, oh no, he means another old black guy. T'Chaka, like T'Challa's dad. Like, no, he wasn't in Black Panther. Like, what other old... I'm like thinking to myself, Angela Bassett. She's an old woman. Maybe he mistook Angela Bassett for Morgan Freeman. And it's like, no, he meant Martin Freeman, the only white guy in the movie, other than Andy Serkis. Like, it just has the same name, you racist prick.
No, but like he is the Coulson of the movie.
Yeah.
He
Yeah.
ties him
See, if
into
he said
the
Coulson
regular.
of the movie, we'd know where to go.
Yeah.
Because like Coulson's white. Like,
No, because he's the Marvel agent in the other ones. He's the S.H.I.E.L.D.
I just
agent
love
in
how
the
we
others.
did that. We just went straight for the race thing. It's like, oh, Greg must mean one of the old black guys. Like, no, he meant the guy who has a name similar to Morgan Freeman.
Yeah, no.
Martin Freeman.
Nah.
You racists. We're racist, Doug. Admit it. We're part of the problem.
Everyone's a little bit racist.
Yes, some more than others. Mostly black people, but no, that's...
Wow.
Well, no, Chinese people if you're Canadian these days. If you're Karen Wang from BC,
Wow.
you're very racist. Did
A
you guys
little
see
bit,
that
yeah.
controversy?
Oh,
No.
so much so.
Oh no! Oh really? I'm not making a
it's
joke.
flooring.
She was a liberal candidate that was running in a by-election, and she went on WeChat, which is like a Chinese social media site, and she said, I'm paraphrasing. She didn't exactly say this. She said, "Vote for me because I'm the only Chinese candidate running in the riding.
Yeah.
Jagmeet Singh is Indian." And it's like, what, bitch? What? What the fuck?
And then she was kicked out of the party. No, sorry,
No,
she resigned. And then 2 weeks later, she was like, you know what? I had to change of heart. I should come back.
Yeah.
And they're like, nope.
Yep.
Keep walking.
And the Liberals were like, and we've nominated another candidate, another very good candidate, Charles Lee. He is also Chinese, but he is not racist.
But not racist. And
Like,
then she had a press
basically
conference
said
for...
what everyone else already knew, which was that in ethnic ridings, parties do make a conscious decision
To go
to
after
run
the
somebody
ethnic.
that matches that ethnicity, although they can never speak it aloud. You know.
Well, she is running as an independent, so there is that.
Yep.
And she got kicked out of the library where she was going to make her press conference, so she had to do it in the parking lot.
Yep. But anyway, no. But in all seriousness,
well, yeah, because you got to be quiet in libraries.
yeah.
That's true.
It's hard
Saying
to do.
all Asians are loud.
No, you have to do. You can't talk in libraries. People are reading.
Oh, I see.
You can't hold a press conference in a library.
He was actually pointing something
Once
out.
again, I went to the Greg's racist.
Wow. I actually
We're
caught
just-
on with Greg there. It was
We're
like,
just a bunch of white
pointing it out.
privileged fucking bigots. In this
wait.
podcast.
I had
Normally.
zero bigotry in there. I knew where he was going.
No. But in all seriousness, Black Panther being nominated for an Oscar is historic.
Yeah.
And it probably won't win. My money's on A Star Is Born with Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Didn't that get really bad reviews?
Yeah.
Like,
No, it got
didn't
great
it
reviews.
actually do really bad?
No.
I think Bohemian Rhapsody would probably do better than.
No. Bohemian Rhapsody is the one that did bad. It was like 60% on Rotten Tomatoes. No, Star Is Born was 90+% and
Really?
made a lot of money. Oh yeah. It was huge.
I thought it wasn't very good, though.
No. It was
Oh.
raved. Everyone
Okay.
loved that fucking movie.
I think the press conferences then they internet trashed
Maybe.
Yeah, maybe.
because like Gaga kept saying like the same thing at every interview.
That's
over
quite
and
Well,
over
because
again.
that's you. Greg,
But they did like a
you
running.
do fucking 40 press junket events.
No, but they did like the same snippet each time of Lady Gaga doing it, like
Yeah.
on this show, on that show, on
That's
this show, on
because
that
they're
show.
all
And
rehearsed.
every
you
time,
dummy.
every time Bradley Cooper was there, giving a slightly different reaction to each one.
Yeah, that's because they're rehearsed. Every single press stop you make on a movie tour, all the questions are predetermined. There's a pre-interview that happens for every single one of these. I've witnessed one. They're the same shit every time.
Which one?
Which
one did you witness?
Funny story.
All right, yes.
Uh-oh.
This is what I set up for you. I saw the twinkle. I wanted to.
It was back when I was in university. And I
Okay.
interned very briefly.
What did you take in university?
I was a musicology major.
Musicology.
Yes.
It's deep. It's
So,
very artsy.
I was at the Sony Music business building, which is still there.
Okay.
You can see it. I'm driving on the DVP.
That's the
And-
Don Belly Parkway.
Yeah,
For people that live in Toronto.
And I was there. I call myself an intern. There's no internship programs in Canada that are unpaid. I was basically just a volunteer who was just asking to be a tag along. So I would get people coffees and do just like odd jobs for people who were in the office. So anyway, they did a lot of press pieces in the building, right? For the early days of the internet. This was back before social media was big. So it was really just a camera and a guy they would hire, and they would ask questions to people who came by to promote records. And Elton John,
I know exactly what building you're talking about now. Yes, continue.
And Elton John came into the office and did one. And so you got a picture. This is probably as close as I've been to a celebrity that big. You got a picture. There's like 2 high chairs, small camera. There's like 2 guys behind the camera, and then behind all of them are like 75 executives with notepads. It's really weird. And I got to just take a peek and look at it going on. But every single question they asked during the filming, they had cameras off prior. They were going over them one by one. It's like, okay, now we're going to talk about your relationship with Bernie Taupin, and now we're going to talk about he was there promoting what's that play he did?
Candle in the Wind.
No. No, I think it was during the Aida, or maybe the Lion King when it first went to Broadway. I don't fucking remember. But they just went over point by point every question before the interview, before they rolled the cameras, and then they went over it. Every bit of that is
That's
scripted.
not always true. I mean, we've seen other interviews where they seem to just be off the cuffing, and people get angry. They're like, "Why would you ask that? We didn't discuss any of this." So sometimes they throw curveballs in, but yeah, most of the times you're probably getting
it's all shit. Like every talk show you see, Fallon does pre-interviews. The only show that I know of that does not do pre-interviews is Howard Stern, but they just ask for a sort of like a discussion point summary from like the representation for the talent. So like they talk about this on the show too, which is the only reason why I know it. But like they'll just basically like send the agent a note saying, "Hey, what are you here to promote? What do you want to talk about? Is there anything explicitly you don't want to talk about?" Howard's not big on blacklisting subjects, but if it's really sensitive, we'll do it, kind of thing, right?
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, like Fallon, Kimmel, all the late night shows, all the morning shows.
Yeah. I would get that if like they just got into a divorce, like a high profile divorce.
Yeah.
You know, if like Brad Pitt divorced Angelina Jolie and then like the next day he had to go on the Howard Stern show and
Yeah.
like don't talk about this.
Yeah.
I'd get that, but I don't know, when it comes to that stuff, isn't it the duty of the interviewer to try to trick them?
Yeah.
I thought that was what it's all about.
But to a certain extent, you also don't want to burn any bridges, right? Because let's say you have Chris Hemsworth, who's all doing all these fantastic things, and you're like, "Well, Chris, I've got this thing you told me not to talk about. Let's go ahead and talk about this."
Right,
he goes,
but that's
blah blah blah, and never comes back.
There's a way to do that, because like if you do it in a deceiving way, sure, but if you do it in an honest, like you ask an honest question, but you do it with like in such a way that they somehow reveal more information.
Sure, but I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, they're always hoping for that extra spoiler to come out based on this is what our topics are. But to a certain extent, a lot of these people are not going to press too hard because they know these stars are good now, but they could be just better around the corner, right?
Yep.
Like Chris Hemsworth. If you're interviewing him for Fantastic Four, you know the movie's a shithole, whatevs, But if you turned around and just and blindsided him, and he blacklists you, and then turns around and does Captain America and like all the other Marvel films,
Yeah, it's true. You got to be careful. I get it.
You can see them on YouTube. All these ones that Robert Downey just fucking like gets up and walks out of. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not doing this. Pulls off all the mics and just like walks out.
And there are some, the thing is, there are some interviews, there's some press tours that you do where interesting questions do come up.
Yeah.
And it's not like in every interview Lady Gaga is going to go up there and say the same thing, but you gotta keep in mind, most morning shows play it safe, and they do just ask the same questions that everybody else asks.
You can see the clip of Lady Gaga saying the same thing over and over and over again. About
It's cherry picking, Greg. You know how this works?
But it's hilarious, the clip.
Okay.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Sure,
We're going to watch it later anyway.
Anyway.
but yeah.
So we're not doing a top 10 today.
No, but I thought Greg was getting his
Spider-Verse also got nominated for Best Animated Film,
Yes, it did.
which truthfully it didn't go up against much.
What is it up against? Do we know? Do we care? I don't care.
That's the point.
No, it's probably up against the earlier Disney releases from the year.
What was the earlier?
What was the earlier Disney releases that were animated?
Moana was this year, wasn't it? Technically last year?
No, I think that
It
was
was last year.
Yeah,
I think it might
2018. Wasn't Moana 2018?
No, I mean last year is 17.
Like the last Academy Award Moana was.
Oh.
I think so. I mean, you could look it up, but I mean, if that's
I don't think it's up against
strongest-
much. But that being said, like, I think it might win just because there's nothing really up against it, and it's not like it's the best one ever. Like, if it was going up against Toy Story,
Yeah.
no
You got
chance it would win against Toy Story.
But I mean, I think
Or
it's also
any-
subjective, right? Like,
Any of the Pixar films.
Yeah.
Or
yeah, well,
How to Train Your Dragon.
Right, like
Yeah.
even that. But like my point is that like because it did so well, Sony is already coming out with Spider-Verse 2.
Yep.
Why? They're just gonna ruin it now. Sony's great at ruining it. In fact, Sony has rebooted Spider-Man so many times that by the time we're done this podcast, it would have rebooted 2 more times.
Yep.
yeah, but the reason for those reboots were that the contract with Marvel to have the Spider-Man property was you had to put out a movie like every 2 years or something like that, minimum. You could do it out faster if you wanted to go nuts, but you had to have a new movie every 2 years. Otherwise, the property would revert.
Is that really how it's worded?
It was basically... I read this because I couldn't figure out why
Really?
we had Spider-Man, and always the same origin story, and just couldn't... It's like they just didn't want to do anything else.
Yeah.
And I was like, why would they do that? So I looked it up online, and this is when Andrew was living on the other side of the city, and I had a long trip to go. So I read the article, and it was basically nobody at Sony wanted to be the VP who lost Spider-Man.
Oh, okay.
So they would keep rebooting the fuck out of it.
Just to
because,
turn out material.
yeah,
As
it didn't
reverts.
matter if
I
they
see,
made
I
money.
see.
It just mattered that they kept putting a Spider-Man out,
Yeah.
so they kept that property.
That
Right?
might make a degree of sense, yeah.
And that's
it could
also
have been
with
part
the
of the deal
X-Men.
because, like, Marvel licensing out their properties, they do license them, they don't sell
Yeah.
them. Obviously, they get a cut of the proceeds. That's part of the deal. It's just like, we will sell you the right to do this, and you can make a ton of money off of it, but of course, we want a piece. And to ensure that you don't just hoard it,
Yeah.
you got to make a piece every few years.
Yeah, and that's also with X-Men. I mean, X-Men did much better.
Yeah.
But this is why you had things like First Class and other things like that, where you could see that 2-year lull. They didn't know what to do. They were like, "Fuck it, make a movie. Just
Yeah.
I don't care what you do, make a movie."
Yeah, which,
Right.
by the way, speaking about the Marvel Cinematic Universe, just quickly before we go, you got to admire just how impressive it is that, unlike any other franchise in the history of cinema, and we're talking every other franchise, like everything that's ever been popular, all the other ones have burned out after a certain period of time. We are upon us right now. People are actually actively kind of lamenting Episode 9 of Star Wars. They're like, they kind of just have already had enough.
Well, because they
they've
broke
gone
Star
further than
Wars.
that.
They broke Star Wars with the
Yeah.
last movie.
Well,
Yeah.
there's an argument that says they broke it, and then there's an argument that says they tried to do something different, and the fans wouldn't have it.
Yeah.
Right?
It was
It's
very
really
well
weird.
reviewed. It did well at the box office, but
Yeah.
just it has that traditional standard fucking J.J. Abrams taint,
Yeah.
which is you walk into the movie, you enjoy it while you're sitting there, you think it's really good, the credits roll, you feel good, and then slowly as you walk away, something sinking starts to happen.
No, it's broken. And I'll tell you why. It is just
Luke Skywalker sucked a nut.
that.
Well,
He did that, which I actually kind of like thought was funny.
Like, you're a Jedi.
Why are you drinking this green milk?
Well,
A thing
it-
that looks
hold
not
on.
like a cow.
wait. He was homesick, and it was blue milk.
Okay, my point is that the one lady went hyperspeed through the big ship that was chasing them, and it broke it in half, and everyone on that ship died. Now Han Solo, I think in Return of the Jedi, said that could happen.
Yep.
Or was it Return of the Jedi? It might have been Empire. Anyway, Han Solo said that could happen. And that's great. That's just a funny line. And everyone knows that, okay, that could happen. But to actually do it on a vessel like that, is bad. Because why didn't the rebels just do that to the Death Star with like a couple of TIE fighters?
Yeah.
And there'd be no reason to have any of the Star Wars movies. Second of all, Luke Skywalker's chilling there, talking about burning the books, and Yoda's like in spirit form going, "Oh yeah, well, I'm about to burn the books." And then summons lightning down from the heavens to blow up the tree and set it on fire.
Yep.
Like, Yoda couldn't even do that shit when he was alive.
Yeah.
Why are all the Jedi, like, why is any Jedi alive when they can just die, become a spirit guy, and summon lightning at
way
will
better?
and do way more fucking stuff as a dead Jedi, and can like appear anywhere in the universe to do this? Like,
No,
they gain
absolutely.
all that space stone technology.
Yeah.
Way better than Space Stone, by the way.
Yeah,
Because
okay,
you
so
can
they
be
can
multiple
appear
places.
anywhere in the universe. They can summon force lightning from the clouds.
Or not even clouds,
not
just
even
out of nothing.
just out of nothing, summon force lightning to destroy anything they want. What?
Also, I will point out, that was not a light side power. That was normally a dark side power. So now you're telling me Yoda's darky.
Yoda's a darky. Doug, once again, goes back to the racism.
Wow,
Jesus,
not
can you
racism.
check your privilege
Dark side.
for one fucking episode, Doug?
A little
God
bit.
damn it.
Wow, he read
Jesus,
it.
Doug, like,
Oh, Yoda's a darky. He's
Next-
out there, you know, he's
next
grilling
you're gonna say-
barbecue ribs.
and
And
he's
he's,
got big ears.
he's watching basketball.
Wow, you read.
and
I
Yoda
mean,
does
dark
have big
sider.
ears.
He is dark siding. Man.
Anyway, no. But no, people are getting tired of Star Wars.
Well, I don't think they're getting tired of Star Wars. I think they're just
Getting tired of this Star Wars.
this Star Wars.
Yeah.
It's the same way that we're
This is
getting
just
tired of
dumb.
this Star Trek.
Because I didn't mind Rogue One. Rogue One, I
loved it.
way more than these new Star Wars. The Han Solo movie, but I was entertained by it. I watched it and was entertained. Like, granted, I didn't think it was as good as Rogue One.
Well, it's not. It's
So
not
like
a
you
property that I
legitimately
want
thought
to
Last Jedi was terrible?
And on Last Jedi, Finn and whatever went to the casino planet. And
Oh,
why?
that was a
why?
garbage fire.
At the end of it, none of it was useful at all.
Nope.
So they
Actually,
spent,
it
like,
actually hurt them.
they spent like half an hour of this movie, and there's like a big chase scene, and they create
I need
all
to
this.
interrupt. By the way, this when Greg is serious because he holds the microphone and it's doing
He's
that right
got it
now.
like just a claw there.
Yeah, and he's like creating all this calamity on this casino planet to find stuttering Antonio Banderas.
Yeah. He's a hacker. Just
Yeah.
generic hacker number 17.
And like at the end of it, that guy betrays everybody, and now they're in a worse position than when they started. And everything they went to the casino planet for, and their whole plan, they're like, oh, we're not going to use that anyway. We're just going to fly a ship through this ship and kamikaze.
Now, I'm going to play devil's advocate because I did like that scene because it was artistically done. I love the fact they did it in silence because you could have been huge, calamitous, tons of noise, but it was nice that it was done in peace, just silence. The ship slams through the other, and artistically it was fantastic. But from an actual Star Trek fan,
Star Wars fan, you mean?
yeah,
Watch yourself.
Thank you.
Check your...
I'm checking my
If
privilege.
you think the racism sparked an outcry in our
This is-
audience, oh my God, do not mix the two up.
No.
You got to keep the stars separate.
I gotta keep them separate.
Because you
So
know
for-
what? A Star is Born.
I'm
And Star Wars, two very different things.
Yeah, no. So from a Star Wars fan perspective, it drives me nuts because first off, if they were gonna do that, they lost like 12 other ships. Why wouldn't you just be like, we're gonna lose a ship, fuck it, fly it straight in, let it go away, right? You could have ended a lot of this problem by just being like, oh, you can do that. Well, start off with a couple ships.
That's what I'm saying. That's not devil's advocate. You're just reiterating my point. Oh no, there's a planet-sized ship coming to destroy my planet? Well, let me
Well, I'm
just
not
fly
even
these
thinking
ships
that.
into it.
I'm not thinking that. Like, this is a desperation move in Last Jedi, right? It's a desperation move. Like, the ships are just dying and getting thrown off to the wind, right? This Death Star is not a desperation move yet because it's still far enough away that it hasn't power lasered up. When it power lasers up, don't get me wrong, I'm surprised I don't see Mon Calamari cruisers just smashing off the front of it.
Let me just fill you guys in on something.
I've got a great plan. How about we take the ships and we fly them into the trench while they get shot at by several turrets, and then have enemy ships chase after them while they shoot 2 torpedoes down
A mystical valley, yeah. No,
into a mystical valley that blows up the whole space station.
Yep. No, you're right.
That sounds like a way better plan than just shooting a ship through it.
Okay, first of all, the reason why I've never...
So we have a plan that will definitely work, and this outlandish
we
scheme...
don't know it will.
Let's go with the outlandish scheme.
We don't know that plan will work. For all we know, the ship it appears and it just happens to be like barracks quarters, and you're in the middle of a fucking crapper. You don't know.
Okay, I just have to point something out here. Star Wars has never been particularly consistent.
No.
Like, there are all kinds of plot holes in the original 3 movies that you could point out.
Yes. And I mean, the thing
To
that
be
I hated
fair.
about the new stuff was essentially I'm just watching New Hope and Empire Strikes Back all over again.
Yeah.
Like, I am not watching any new film.
What about Jedi?
Return of the Jedi? Welcome to 9.
Yeah, he thinks 9 is going to be a clone of Return of the Jedi.
Oh,
Yeah.
Okay.
Minus Ewoks. They're gonna,
No,
have,
fuck it. We're going to have new Ewoks. We have Porgs
Yeah,
in the last one.
they're gonna be the wokes.
Yeah.
Woke as fuck.
They're so woke.
Yeah. Like, well, fuck it. We had Porgs in the last one. We'll have something new in this one. But they've been very clear about, let's just make the old films all over again with new people.
Yeah.
Like, there's nothing new.
No.
No. Go ahead. Give me the new parts of the plot. I would love to hear.
I've put out all the new parts to it, how it broke the Star Wars universe. The
Sure.
new things are that they can fly through ships.
But mentioned in previous ones as, oh,
New
you
ones
don't do this.
are Force ghosts are like ridiculously stronger.
Sure, but this is why
Why live, brah? When you can just be ghost form
Well,
OP.
There might be disadvantages to being ghost form. Like, maybe you lose
maybe you like,
your free will in a way. Like, you can only be summoned by another Jedi into existence.
or
again.
maybe you're tied to a single Jedi. Like
Yeah.
Yoda was Luke's master. Maybe now he can't be anywhere else. He's just like permanently stuck to Luke.
Yeah,
and Luke
him and
has to
Obi-Wan
think
just
about
have to, like, suck each other off for all eternity when Luke doesn't
So
need them.
okay, so at the end of Jedi, he had Darth Vader, he had Yoda, and he had Obi-Wan,
Yeah.
Yeah,
all following him.
all there. So now, if we go with this idea,
Now, based on the Clone Wars, Qui-Gon could do that, but he couldn't actually summon a physical form,
yeah,
like a physical ghost form,
Yeah.
just because he was the first one to
Yes.
come up with
Continue.
this Jedi power.
Yes.
So, like, maybe you do have to be tied, but then that means, I don't know.
I mean, this is really sketch. Don't get me wrong.
Like, a lot of these problems, a lot of these inconsistencies in movies in general can be explained by accepting the fact that there are parts of it you don't see, right? Like, every story has bits and pieces that happen in between the scenes
sure,
that you aren't necessarily privy to for dramatic purposes.
that's fine.
All kinds of things. Like, when people complain about elements of Infinity War,
Sure.
another one that, all the things that come up all the time. It's like, well, why didn't you just make more resources? Like, well, motherfucker, maybe there's a reason, and you should shut your goddamn yap and keep watching the rest of the series to find out. Maybe they'll mention it.
I'm pretty sure the universe doesn't run out of resources, though.
Well, there's that too. In the Marvel Cinematic
There's a lot of
Universe, it
problems
appears
with
they're not adhering to the strictest, in the strictest sense of the word, the most accurate model of the universe in reality. Because in the real universe, there is something...
I'm giving Jeff a slow look as if he just blew my mind.
Yeah.
You mean to say that the superhero movies are not accurate?
Well,
They could be,
fuck.
but they're not. I don't think. I think they're trying to imply that the universe, so to speak, in the cinematic universe is finite, and it's not finite in reality. Sort of.
I mean, it is finite, but
it's
it is
finite
virtually
in that.
infinite.
So, infinity is a weird concept, right? Because
Yeah.
like you can have
Whoa, that's
so
Let's get our tinfoil hats on, people.
Okay, hold on.
Infinity is
explain.
infinite.
So
Yes.
infinity is a weird
I'm with you.
concept.
Yeah, I'm with you.
So imagine in your brain
Okay.
an infinitely large volume of space,
Okay.
and you have stars in it, and the stars occupy 1% of that space.
Uh-huh.
But if I can imagine it, that's finite, which means it's not infinite.
It is infinite because
But
if
no,
the
no, no.
volume is infinite.
But if I can imagine it, if I can figure out, I can establish a boundary, an edge. Right? If I can imagine it, I can't imagine an endless volume. I have to imagine to an end.
you can't imagine it physically, but
Guys.
that's why it's called a thought experiment. You imagine
Sure.
it imaginatively.
But even as such,
An infinite universe with stars that occupy 1% of the volume would have infinite stars.
sure,
My point is that you can have infinities of different sizes.
sure, but infinite still can't be. You have to have it. Still has
No,
to
it
be
is.
finite.
There's infinity. I can prove to you that infinity exists.
Guys,
Do my nuts.
I just had a moment. Okay. Based on the Big Bang, all the galaxies are moving apart from each other.
Yep.
So that means as time goes on, it is going to be harder to travel to another galaxy.
Yes.
Similar to me,
Except.
I have not met anyone, and I'm growing older, and it's becoming harder and harder for me to meet people.
All right, so hold on. I believe this is Greg's reaching out for a date. So
This is
anybody
scary, guys.
listening, anybody
Infinite.
listening, we gotta hook Greg up with a date.
This is infinitely scary, Doug. Let's wrap our heads around that.
Well, that's what I'm saying. We gotta get the listeners to help. So we're gonna get the listeners to set Greg up with dates. No. We've started this.
I don't actually need help.
We've
I
opened
just-
Pandora's box.
No, I just actually wanted to make that point. Let's continue with the infinite.
So anyway, but in the Marvel Cinematic Universe, that's obviously not the case. They're implying that what we know to be the observable universe, which is as far as we can observe, which is
Which isn't much
approximately
at all.
13.7 billion light years in any given direction, not accounting for time dilation and whatnot.
and
So, like-
wind currents.
Yeah.
So,
And glare on the lens, right? Like
Yeah.
it just
Just like the smudge.
yeah.
so that's how much we can see. I think they're implying that that's the physical limit of the universe, but
Well, it's probably the physical limit of the universe they're willing to
or
explore.
Thanos is in that statement. He's implying that if life left again, infinity is a weird concept, but the concept of finite resources can still exist in an infinite universe because if the elements consuming the resources outweigh the production of the resources, even though there's an infinite amount of number of resources, access to resources, it could still expire. If there is a larger infinity pulling those resources away.
Yeah.
So, again, going back to what I said.
Infinity plus one.
Yeah,
It's
so
like
going back
n
to what I
over
said,
2
if you have an
can't be
infinite
greater
number
than
of
n.
planets, but each of those planets can only house 10 billion sentient life forms, then there is a capacity for each planet to hold life, and each planet in that infinity reaches or exceeds capacity. Then, in effect, the universe does have limited resources. It does have finite resources. So what the point is that what Thanos is saying is not necessarily implying that the Marvel Cinematic Universe is functionally different from our model of the universe, but it could be. So but the point is, my point in this is that because of that, everything is basically thrown out the window. All standard conventional logic about why Thanos did what he did, given the power of the gauntlet, is just like, shut up and enjoy the fucking movie. Because there are intentionally pieces of it left missing that were supposed to be out so that you wouldn't be thinking about this shit.
I mean, realistically, if you're going to sit down and think about that, you also have to remember he is I'll use the word man, not in gender, but just a person. With ideas
Because only
and
men are
thoughts.
people, Doug? God damn it! Once again!
Wow.
Whoa, Doug.
He is a person who has thoughts. And within those thoughts, he has opinions.
Person, as in person, as in son, as in a male.
Yes.
And
Doug!
He identified as male, so I'm going to let that stand. Go nuts.
and he has what was that? Thoughts?
Yeah,
Thoughts.
Like
And
that hoe
opinions.
over there?
like independent thoughts?
Independent.
Independent thoughts, like pimpless thoughts?
Yeah.
You know what a thought is, right? That hoe over there, THOT. You've never heard of that acronym before? He's looking at me like, I get it,
No.
I get the joke.
No, I don't know what
Independent
it means. But like,
thoughts.
I was going a different way, and you're trying to pull it your way.
Wow.
Let's go with your way.
This is what I'm
Whatever.
trying to say.
Whatever.
You both have different thoughts on the same
Well,
thing.
both
I have
of us-
plenty of thoughts, actually.
Oh.
Both of us have thoughts that are basically the same thing about you.
I know, isn't it great? But he has an opinion and a desire to execute that opinion. Whether or not it's right, valid, or whatever.
Doesn't matter. Because he's
Doesn't
the
matter.
Mad Titan. That's another
Exactly.
thing. Like, fuck off with your
insanity.
nitpicking. So in that vein, Greg,
Yes.
in that vein, why are you so upset about the minutia in Star Wars?
Wait, wasn't I the one who was upset about
No,
the
he
minutia?
was. He was like, they ruined fucking Star Wars because Luke Skywalker drank out of a tit from a monster.
That's your problem. not mine.
Yeah, it was yours.
No, but
Wow.
like really, they could have just ended Star Wars and things so much easier. Like the thing is you still have to, yes, do something new, but don't do it in a way that ruins all the old movies. Like those are the things you fall back on. Those
Yeah,
are your
Like
foundations.
midichlorians.
Don't
Oh,
you know what?
don't get me
Midichlorians.
started on
Okay, so I got around midichlorians with my highly evolved scientific brain
Uh-huh. How'd
Okay.
you do that?
because this happens a long time ago in another galaxy that happens to be far, far away.
Mm-hmm.
Now, in that galaxy, who's to say there aren't bacteria that allow you to levitate things and become?
No, that's fine too, but the Force was more interesting when it was magic.
Yeah, or there wasn't a presence about it. Kind of
Right?
like how...
Well,
And like
and
if,
the
it's,
thing
if
was
it's
is
really
that,
is
like-
bacteria in the blood, like can't you just measure that at birth and
Yeah, you
sequester
can.
these people?
100%. And that's what happens is that's why it kind of sucked is because now it is essentially measurable.
Yeah.
And therefore, the Force
Yeah.
now exists.
Yeah.
In quotes.
Yeah.
Like it now exists.
And you can
because-
predict who the next Vader will be, who the
Yeah,
next
or,
badass
well,
will be.
who will be the next Supreme user
Yeah.
versus independent? And then the next question is, how did Palpatine not get identified earlier?
Yeah.
Because chances are everybody is getting this little test happening.
How does anyone pass drug tests, Doug?
They get their friend to pee for them.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Oh, you're right.
Come
So
on,
a-
Doug.
So
like-
a Jedi who's supposed to be able to use the Force
Doug.
and sense power goes, I sense your friend has peed for you. That's great. Like, I mean, we're poking holes in a thing that's already
Right.
Swiss
That's
cheese,
that's the
right?
thing. It is Swiss. That's the thing. Star Wars is Swiss cheese, and you just gotta roll with it.
Yeah, like,
Like it
if
is.
you poke more holes into it, you're just gonna destroy it any
No,
further
but
than
like
we've gone.
that movie was so like okay, the
movie
lighting
was
for
bad.
that lighting for the movie was good.
Sure, I'll grant you that. Like, if that's the highest praise we could give that movie,
Like, that's-
I'm gonna go with it.
The
Like,
lighting
shit.
was solid, guys. It was solid.
But like, no, I still preferred the first three, as in 4, 5, 6, because it left things to be open. It wasn't as driven. We didn't have backstory on how Luke got here. We just knew he was an orphan. Fine, I'm good with that.
I'll be honest with you, dude. I kind of prefer the prequel to these ones.
Oh no,
Really?
well,
I mean, come
2,
on.
3, I
okay,
prefer.
I'll
versus
admit, I'm not a
these.
Star Wars fan, but I liked Force Awakens. I thought it was entertaining.
Force Awakens.
Yeah, the episode 7.
I remember. I didn't find. I found it fine for like the first 30 minutes, and then I just realized I could have gone home and watched A New Hope, and it would have been basically the same film.
Okay, so compare that to the Phantom Menace. You've got and the Force Awakens. You've got a girl who's completely untrained in anything, barely ever held a lightsaber, going up against a quote unquote Jedi intermediate.
Hell, we'll just
Yeah.
say, we'll call him a
Intermediate Jedi.
Padawan even, and he's
Okay.
still got more training.
He's still got way more training, and yet somehow it's down to a stalemate. Not even a stalemate. She wins.
She wins.
She wins that fight.
She bloods him.
Versus the Phantom Menace, where you've got Liam Neeson playing Liam Neeson,
Yep.
Obi-Wan Kenobi as young, and Darth Maul going at it.
I mean, don't
That
get me
was the
wrong.
most badass lightsaber fight I've ever seen.
I liked that scene, but the movie itself just drove me nuts
Because of the
it
wooden
just,
acting.
well, there was that, and it was so Deus Ex Machina. Like, I know Star Wars films are basically Deus Ex Machina personified to like the next level, but this one just ramped it.
Now, I 100% agree with you that the prequels really suffered because of Jar Jar.
Well, there's that.
No,
But I mean,
like,
also
I
the
can't...
peg holing that they just had to fit in. Like, I'm willing to live with 2 and 3 as good films because I liked 3. Don't get me wrong. I really liked 3 in the fact that
Revenge of the Sith?
yeah,
It got
it was-
80% on Rotten Tomatoes.
like
People
that one I liked. It was gritty. You could see the anger. You could see the hate. You could see.
Oh
the
yeah, Hayden
transition.
Christensen does great acting.
Through his teeth, yeah. That was in the second one a lot.
Yeah.
Yeah, every time he's mad, he just talks through his teeth.
Yeah.
Now,
I mean-
the one thing I really disliked about Revenge of the Sith, that I don't really dislike it, I just wish they did it differently, but it wouldn't really work out, is if the Obi-Wan Kenobi, Anakin Skywalker lightsaber fight,
Oh yeah.
if they just had different color lightsabers,
Yeah, I grant you this.
but it just, like, I get it just wouldn't work out.
No. Like I really do.
Yeah, they can give Samuel L. Jackson a purple one. They can give fucking Anakin a fucking yellow one or something.
Well, no. He should have had the same one that he started with.
He did, the blue
Did
one.
he? I thought he had
But
a
the
red
thing
one
was
by
is
then.
that Obi-Wan Kenobi's always been blue as well.
Yeah.
So when the final fight happened, they were both blue, and it's just like, okay, whoa, which one's swinging? Wait, whoa, that almost hit Obi-Wan. Oh, that was his own. Oh my God.
I can't even tell you. I mean, look. Oh God, as an outsider, as someone who's not necessarily a Star Wars fan, I can nitpick the shit out of those movies.
Sure.
But my point is that you shouldn't let it bother you. That's the thing. Aside from the nitpicking and those story elements that kind of create inconsistencies, I still think most people would agree it was good.
No movie.
And my point is, I don't think that's why people are tiring of Star Wars. I think people are tiring of Star Wars is because there's been too many movies recently, and you can only fit so many in a certain time frame.
No,
without
I think
people
they've
getting
just
sick
been
of them.
bad movies.
Nah, I think you're wrong because they can easily fit more Marvel movies into
Yeah.
a thing.
But that's the overarching point I was making when we started this fucking 50-minute rant, is that the Marvel Cinematic Universe has found a way to do it.
But it's not the
With
same
through
character.
diversity. That's
It's
the
not the same
point.
5 characters
That's my
over and
point
over again.
exactly. Is that the Star Wars universe is shallow in that in its scope. It's got basically one main story. They tried to diversify with Rogue One and Solo, like these side shoot movies that are not like on the main path. But it's ultimately the same shit. You know what I mean?
Well, Rogue One was the same path. It just so happened to be
It's
before the main path.
But it's slightly divergent, right? Like new characters and
yeah,
whatnot.
Sure.
I agree with
Yeah,
Jeff on
but
that.
with Marvel, they've done exactly what they need to do to make it work. Something that even X-Men didn't do. X-Men started with the group and then had a few solo films, some Wolverine movies, and then some Deadpool movies.
But again, those are still the same
Yes,
7
but
characters.
with Marvel, it's not. They built it the other way around. They started with the solo films, and then they made an agglomeration. They introduced more solo films, and then had a second agglomeration. And that has allowed it to stay fresh. They can do 3 movies a year because they're all vastly different, but still tied together.
But Avengers proves to be the difference maker. If you had an independent Storm film, it would suck. If you had an independent Cyclops film, it would suck. If you have an independent
No, it
Jean Grey
wouldn't.
film, sure you would.
suck. A lot-
Because they're never known to be independent players.
But that's because the X-Men
Is not a franchise. Exactly. They're a team. They were built as a team. Avengers is not a team that was purposefully built. Right? You're talking about 2 different things that are running.
No, but
Right? We have Iron Man. We have
I'm gonna put a pin on this for both of you because in none of those movies did you have 2 characters from the movie go to a casino planet, create calamity,
Sure.
and have nothing to do with anything, and waste 20 minutes of my life
Really?
having them fucking ride chocobos through a cornfield,
Yeah.
running
And
from
actually-
like
Yeah? You really think that didn't happen in a Marvel movie? Need I remind you of when Thor went to the magic pool to have a vision?
but did that last like 20 plus minutes?
It was kind of stretched out.
but it wasn't a third of the film.
Okay, but
No, it wasn't a third of the film.
wasn't Hemsworth basically naked?
He was no, I don't. No,
He was shirtless.
I don't think he was. I don't think he was shirtless. He
I
has,
think-
he
I
has
think he
armor.
was
He had his
shirtless.
6 titty armor on.
I think he was shirtless.
Really?
Maybe.
Maybe I don't remember.
Anyway.
I didn't focus on that part. This is so terrible.
Admittedly, now that I'm thinking about a lot of this, there is one other property that has managed this, and it's the James Bond property.
No, but it's not continuous, bitch.
How is it not continuous? It is the same quote unquote character, and
Different
there's an
continuities,
argument
dude.
that's
Different continuities. Every time they cast a new Bond, they pretty much reboot it.
I don't think so. I mean, the
I
argument.
didn't have cell phones back in fucking Roger Moore's day.
So,
But they do now.
yeah.
But like I
And
get
somehow James Bond got younger?
no, but like
But again, the title James Bond is like the title Iron Man or Captain America.
But that's the thing. It's not a shared universe. Like, there are lots of franchises that have managed to succeed. But even Bond, they have to go 3 or 4 years in between movies.
Sure.
There aren't other Bond-esque properties that they can put out in between because it's just James Bond.
Well, no one's ever thought to try.
Fair enough,
The
but-
issues I have with the Bond movies are why do all of the characters in the Bond movies have to have complicated names?
What? Pussy Galore is absolutely complicated?
No, but like in recent Bond movies, it's always like
Noel Christmas? Is that a
no, that's like a main character though. But it's
No,
always
that
like
was the love
they're talking
interest.
about
most ridiculous
like
character ever.
Vincent Chomchinsky, and you're just like, who's that again? Was that the guy with the briefcase, or was that the business mogul guy?
Well, okay.
Oh, that was the Russian thug.
I was about to say.
Okay, wait.
If you ever have to
Did
use
he
the
die?
word
No,
ski
he
in a
actually
Bond
died
film,
2
use Russian.
movies ago.
No.
But anyway,
No,
the point
but-
is that you have
James Bond is a bad example because though it is the same character on a new adventure,
Yeah.
it is based around a single character doing a new adventure.
There
each time.
are segmented
Paddington
trilogies
Bear
and
is
whatnot.
basically James Bond 2 then, because every time Paddington Bear goes on a new adventure.
You're right. And,
Right?
Yeah.
Like,
But it's not the same continuity. Sometimes it is. Like all the Craig movies, all the Daniel Craig movies have been a continuity. But as soon as now that they're replacing Daniel Craig, the next one's going to be a reboot. It's not going to be Daniel Craig Bond continued.
But again, the argument behind Bond has always been that the title is essentially 007. The person that goes in is just James Bond, right? Like it's just you acquire the
there's always
title.
a subtitle. There's
Your
it's like-
position is
it's
007.
You're
007.
saying there may be different guys, but they're always just take on the name James Bond.
Yes.
And it's
No.
But that's always
No.
that's been a theory.
I don't buy that.
I don't buy that
I
either.
understand it's a theory, Doug. I just don't buy it. I think they're trying where they're grasping at straws. And
I mean, to a certain amount of sense, it makes sense how you would have gone 30 years, multiple people. He just is James Bond, right? You acquire the title, right? You are 007 James Bond as your cover.
and you substitute for someone else.
Yeah.
Once you get your training, you're
So
in.
you
You're
are-
the new
I
Bond.
mean,
but
yeah.
nobody treats you like that. You're just James Bond.
You're just James Bond.
Yeah.
That is your persona that you carry forward.
Yeah.
So you
like
could be
Jason
John
Bourne.
Smith.
Yeah, but like.
Yeah. But yeah.
Once Matt Damon's Jason Bourne dies, it'll just be a new Jason Bourne.
It'll
And
just be a new
Have the
Jason
name
Bourne.
Jason Bourne, and we'll continue on the storyline. Okay, I get that that's a theory, but it's kind of after the fact and concocted. Marvel
Really?
did it from the start, and they planned it from day one. They were like, let's put a little bit of universe building in every solo movie and just see what happens. And then it happened, and it was great. And now they're at the point where they can legit release 3 films a year, and it ain't enough. It isn't enough. Everyone's like Star Wars. Oh, you know what? We've had enough for now.
Well,
But
let's
Marvel's
see what
like,
they
oh
do
yeah,
with
fuck.
Mandalorian.
We don't have a Marvel movie between July and fucking March of next year. Fuck my dick. Give me a movie.
I will say, once they bring out The Mandalorian, let us see how that goes.
I think it's
Because that at least breaks it off.
I think it's because like with these new movies, nobody actually gives a shit about these characters.
That's another thing.
I don't care about Rey or Poe or any of
Or
them.
Lala or Tinky Winky or any of the other
Yeah,
fucking
exactly.
Telepubbies.
Right.
Telepubbies.
Yeah, I don't care about any of them. Like I really just don't. They're all horrible, all of them.
Yeah.
I
get
do.
behind
I
that.
have to admit that none of them really stuck out for me.
Right. If we can't get behind the characters,
I did like
We
Adam
won't enjoy
Driver as Kylo Ren, though. I thought he did a great job. I did.
what,
I know you
brooding
don't like
male?
him. I know you think he's a big emo crybaby,
Yeah,
but
He
I thought his performance was tremendous. Great villain building because you have to
Sure.
start him small. I think that's part of what makes The Force Awakens work, is that, yes, in training and in practice, he's far ahead of the game. But emotionally, he's a child.
Sure.
He's building. As where Rey is the one who's strong of character, but lacks refinement. No. Follow me on this. Seriously.
Okay.
Think back to these like old baseball movies from the 80s.
Okay.
Where one of the classic tropes was like there's always this like rich from a successful like suburban white family, like just like molded athlete. Like he had all the privilege in the world and then stepped into the game good. But then there's this guy who is the protagonist who steps into the story and he's never had any actual, he had a shitty like coach in like fucking Venezuela that just came up and showed, it was really wise and knowledgeable, but just like unrefined, you know, and taught him the basics. Like here's how you throw a ball, man. This is how you throw hard. This is how you slide hard. And he taught him to play the game, quote unquote, the wrong way, right?
Okay.
Down and dirty, street kind of ball. But he gets that shot.
Some stick ball.
Yeah, he gets that shot, and he gets his real equipment, and he digs in, and it turns out the guy's really fucking good. He just needs some molding, and then you have that like that sage like fucking Tom Selleck character or some shit. A guy with a mustache comes along and he goes, "Hey, you know what, kid? You got something here. I think if we work at it, we can make something out of you." And he starts out getting he's like an 82nd round draft pick, but by the end, it's him and fucking Captain Fuckface Handsome over there facing each other down, pitcher to batter. And he wins the game-winning home run. That's what Kylo Ren and Rey are like to me. It's like dirty fucking in the little fucking piece of shit from a shit poor neighborhood versus rich guy who's had all the privilege in the world but just can't quite get it together. He can't come over the hump like because she's got the character and he's a pussy.
And that's fine. Like as a character,
see, Greg,
that's fine.
And I'm not even a Star Wars fan. I'm defending Force Awakens.
No. Okay. So,
but at the same time, I can't get behind those characters.
We know
they just don't feel personable.
We know the dark side is driven by rage and pain, just like
That's
these
another thing.
raw emotions.
They've always
are-
said that the dark side is emotion based, right? And rage and hate are the
Rage,
strongest
hate.
emotions.
But why?
They just are. I mean, you can understand the
'Cause-
fact that they are strong emotions, right?
But
Like,
okay,
so-
first, I don't even want to
Peace
get
and
into it.
love.
I don't even want to
No,
get into it.
I'm
'cause
gonna-
it's-
I
Wait,
have to
you
counter-
started
Go,
that we're
go,
gonna
go,
go
Greg,
in.
go.
I gotta counterpoint your little baseball analogy
Yeah.
with you've got like raw, deep, like emotion of hate and jealousy and all these like 7 deadly sins essentially that drive dark Sith Jedi and stuff like that. You've got Darth Vader who was enslaved, watch his mom trying so hard and just like he's probably getting beaten by her employer and stuff like that, just trying to get scraps together, and then you finally like move on and you can't save her and the pain of that, and then you like finally find love that you can't be a part of because of some Jedi order, which is what you always wanted to do, but you love this woman and you go against the Jedi order and you have children with her and you're going to start a life, but then you accidentally kill her in your rage and just the regret. I can see why Darth Vader became Darth Vader, and then you have Kylo Ren being like, "You won't go out with me.
Actually, it's
I
deeper
really
than that.
don't like this.
But that's the thing.
This feeling that drives my rage."
His
But
rage
that's
is
what makes-
He
based
is
on
such a good actor.
no. His rage is based on the fact that his uncle stood over him with a lightsaber and he got to run away. That's his rage. That's the baseline on his rage. That he got to run.
So this is the thing, but that's I think what makes the character interesting because he is so fragile.
Sure, he's fragile. I'll grant you fragile.
Like when he had to kill his dad, when he had to kill Han Solo.
This doily over here will be the next Sith.
Like he's arguing with himself constantly. He's having this moral crisis. It's like I know what I need to do, but I can't do it. I don't know if I can do it.
I will not point out that is when I hated this movie the most.
You hated that there was conflict in the villain?
I hated the fact that they were like, oh, I don't have a good way to do this. I'm going to go to the expanded universe and go ahead and take from there because I don't have a great idea. But for everything else, I just want to eliminate it. That pissed me off.
God, you guys are nerds.
I didn't actually understand.
You know the podcast we're in,
I
right?
didn't actually
Fucking nerd.
understand what Doug was going on about because he spoke in
He's spoken jargon.
A lot of jargon innuendo.
He's talking about the Star Wars the novels, basically.
Right,
Yeah.
but like to what point? The fact that like Kylo Ren had to use the Jedi Academy thing?
No,
Like-
to kill his father.
Symbolically. kill his
Symbolic.
father.
Oh, okay, but that's kind of like a trope throughout like a lot of different things
Sure,
outside of
but
Star
It's
Wars.
another thing that doesn't fucking make any goddamn sense about Star Wars. You want to poke holes in Star Wars? The fact that every goddamn Sith Lord has to kill their master.
It's
or whatever.
essentially like an
Yeah.
Oedipus Rex kind of thing.
It's
Yeah.
so stupid. Like if you're the good guys, you basically just look at them and go, huh? Okay, well, what's what we're gonna do? We're gonna go around the universe and get all these midichlorian fuckers and make Jedi, and everyone's gonna get to live. We're gonna have an army of Jedi, and then we're just gonna have them one by one pick each other off, and there'll be the same number of them all throughout history. So we'll grow
Or less.
exponentially large, and they'll have like 60 guys, and then eventually we'll just go there and fucking force fart them out of existence.
But the way they hindered themselves is they're like, we'll only have two.
Yeah.
A master and apprentice. That's how the Sith will rule the universe. So it's like when the Jedi are doing like when Mace Windu, when Samuel L. Jackson's sitting there in deep meditation and he's like, we know there's two. Like, bravo Samuel.
But the whole thing is full of holes, guys. You can't nitpick Star Wars by point. There's so much fucking holage, and it is
Yeah.
Swiss cheese.
And so where I'm going with this is 8 was particularly bad because the fragileness that's already holding the Star Wars universe together is
Crumbles.
now completely blown away.
Well,
like
I mean,
the dandelion in the wind.
Yeah.
Just like it's
Yeah.
held together and it's there. And then episode 8 came by and blew everything away.
I have a theory that we'll close out with that I'd
Okay.
like you guys to consider about Star
I
Wars.
had a beautiful metaphor there. We
You
should
did.
have just ended with that, but go ahead.
No, but this is my theory.
Jeff wants final
Like
words.
Lord of the Rings,
Uh-oh.
perhaps it's time to accept the fact that it was only meant to be 3 movies long. And there was enough story there to last a lifetime.
I think the problem is Lord of the Rings went to 5 movies.
That-
Sorry, 6. It went to 6.
Which is why
This
it's
is why
only
it was meant to be
3 movies long. Like they made the same mistake. They was like, let's make the Hobbit a movie. It's like, nah, Hobbit really doesn't work as a movie. And they were like, no, money. And then they got made, and I actually enjoyed them. But yeah, they clearly don't need to exist.
I think what they should have done was just completely different. Star Wars stuff, but just
Yeah.
completely different. Way out there.
Well,
Yeah.
Get away from
But-
the Skywalkers. Get away from...
In the same universe.
Same
just
universe,
Different
just-
timeline, different characters.
this is why I want to
Just-
see The Mandalorian. This is why I want to see how that turns out, because they're taking a racial structure that wasn't really focused on.
Back to race, Doug. Jeez.
Oh my god. Every time we podcast, this guy's like fucking...
Why?
When are they going to build that wall to keep those
Jeez.
Mandalorians out?
Really?
Wow. I'm going to unplug this mic
Just
now.
slats, okay?
I'm just going to unplug the mic. How's that?
Okay, we should probably go.
Yeah.
We're upwards of way too long. Almost 2 hours. Okay. Thanks,
Well,
guys.
good night.
See you later. Bye.
Bye.
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 See you later.